What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Royal Dude Lorenzo, and we're back for episode number 32, which, by the way, everybody, this is the 10th episode of the season. I wish I could insert that audience sound, the children saying, yeah. You guys know the sound. Anyways,
episode 32!
I hope you guys are doing great.
The famous children sound that everyone knows about. It's such a weird thing to say.
My name is Royal Dude Lorenzo. I'm the Blue Squid here on the Inkling Brothers podcast. And yeah, it's been quite a bit. Sorry we took a little hiatus there. Blame Premiere Pro, was having issues with me. But we're back on track now, and I'm pass it to the next person.
Hey guys, my name is Ray, also known as Meatloaf Man, and I'm the Purple Squid here on the Inkling Bros podcast. Happy to be back for episode 32. What about you, next person?
Well, this next person is called Eric, and that's literally all you need to know.
Ooh, that was spicy. It's different.
Spicy, wow.
It's different. It's different from the usual. And I'm Eric. But how's everybody been doing? It's been like a long time.
Since the last recording.
Yeah. It's been like what? When was
yeah.
Like August or like end of July.
Lawrence turned into a fucking valley girl right there.
Didn't you hear? I'm originally from...
Alright, don't. Keep it a one-off thing. You don't have to...
I'm originally from Northridge, Eric. Didn't you know that?
Like... Okay, Ray.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that we say like a perfectly normal, decent one-off joke, and then Lawrence is like, ooh, that's a good one. I'm going to take it and stretch it out as much as I can.
Hell yeah! Don't you know, Eric? Okay, I'm done.
If you're gonna do that, at least do it like the girl from the Amanda Show in that one skit. It's like, hey, I'm from Tennessee.
It's been so long.
You don't remember? Like,
you're referencing something that came out like 20 years ago, bro.
No, but that's memorable though. Like, you don't remember that skit with the girls in like, oh, it's the girls' room, and then he did like a bunch of interviews and shit with
I
vaguely remember it.
Girls' room. Like when you said that, something clicked in my head, but I don't remember the Valley Girl accent. No.
That's how they always started those kids. Like, I'm from Tennessee. Like one of the girls in there.
I remember Judge Trudy, or what was it? Moody? No, Judge.
No, that's Moody's point.
Damn it! I don't remember the name of the Amanda Judge.
Judge.
It might have been Judge Trudy.
It might have been.
Yeah.
Lobsters.
Anyways, I'm done with the Valley Girl accent. So, but on that note,
no. Actually, on that note, because I mentioned how Lawrence just loves taking a joke and stretching it as far as I can see. I had an idea that I kept to myself for a while. So this is like a surprise to Lawrence and Ray. I propose I propose an Inkling Brothers drinking game, and I've come up with a few rules about this. Hilariously, though, they all relate to Lawrence.
Okay.
But all right, rule 1: when Lawrence flubs hard, like NFL 2K or so on and so forth.
When he has like a critical research failure moment.
Well, I was actually counting that separately, but I guess you could group it together. But take a shot. When Lawrence just loves a joke that me or Ray or Isaac says at one point, and he just takes it and stretches it for like over a minute at least, take a shot.
That's fun.
When Lawrence goes into these weird accents and voices, take a shot. When you hear this one's actually related to Isaac. When you hear a lot of background noise from Isaac's mic, take a shot.
Jesus.
And my favorite, when Lawrence derails what's being talked about right now for a weird rant, take like 3 shots at that point. Because I feel like That happens all the time. The granddaddy of like out of nowhere Lawrence rants is the fucking Greatest Showman rant. Like out of nowhere, Lawrence was like, "Let me just spend an hour of the podcast ranting about like the critical versus user reaction to Greatest Showman," and it was a marvel to listen to, both while we recorded and afterwards when I was listening to like the upload of the podcast on my own time. It was because I know I didn't speak much during that because I hadn't seen the movie, so I had no stake into that conversation, and I was just so perplexed by it because Lawrence was so vigorously into it, and it's like he's calling out to me. It's like, Eric, critics hated this movie, but people loved it, and I'm just sitting there like, what? like I didn't know what to say, and it gets to a point where I'm just like, do you not have people to talk to about these things, so you have to let it out onto us? Yes. Or it's like,
my favorite part about these outbursts, whenever they happen, like with that one in particular, and with like similar ones throughout the show, is usually we're towards the end of the podcast, like we're just about to end it, like not just about to, but like we're 10 minutes away from stopping the recording, and then we go on a huge tangent that starts with something that Lawrence talked about.
And who? Yeah, I was gonna say, Ray. And who does those tangents? This motherfucker right here, Lawrence.
Hey, you know,
it gets to a point where it's like, yeah, man, did you know that this one song in Greatest Showman was actually a rendition from this 1947 piece? And I'm like, I didn't even ask. What?
Cool, you know, bro, sure think about it. I say think about it this way. Every time we have a conversation, all three of us, it usually goes that way anyway. So really, we're just recording our conversation.
You take it to a next level for sure.
Hey, man, I like it. You don't. That's up to you, man. But yes, take 3 shots. Or finish your drink, whichever one comes first.
Oh my god, at that point they die of alcohol poisoning.
Yeah, no, because I once played a Harry Potter drinking. Look, I'm doing it. I'm doing it right now.
There you go.
Like it's common to go off topic, but you go on tangents. There's a difference there. You go on. You know what? I'm so mad at how critics didn't like this movie. I'm just gonna talk about it for an hour, and I'm like, damn. All right, I guess I'll just sit back.
Hey man, I would still defend that movie today. On that note, I wanted to say I did play a similar drinking game.
I thought of this while listening to the previous episode, because it got recently uploaded, and I was listening to it while I was working because my final semester of grad school started. So, and it's all online, thankfully, along with my work. So literally, just like the summer. And towards the end of last semester, I'm mostly at home. So I put it on in the background while I was working on something. And I noticed during the fucking Last of Us 2 discussion, I don't know where Lawrence just starts talking about Resident Evil, which I think, all right, that's fine. It's sort of related, I guess, in the sense that, I mean, there's zombies. Like, there's at least a thread of a relation. But then out of nowhere, he starts talking about Alien versus Predator stuff. And I'm like, where did this come from? And then he's like, all right, well, after all that talking, back to Alien versus Predator, guys. And I'm like, wait, whoa. I don't think that was the main topic. What do you mean back to that? Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. That's so funny.
When I saw that, I was like, this is such a common occurrence. And then I started thinking, what other common occurrences happen on this damn show? And yeah, that's what I came up with so far.
Well, I do want to be fair to us, at least, that we, that's the reason we started this podcast, is because we wanted to have a little more freedom when it came, even though we do have general topics, we wanted to kind of have like a little more freedom when it comes to like, what we talk about. And obviously I do actually try my best to steer back to the topic if we can, if it's even redeemable at that point.
We're talking about Last of Us 2. All right, guys, let's get back to Alien versus Predator.
I still think that is so funny. I still laughed at that even while editing.
And obviously, I'm teasing in a.
Yeah.
I'm not I'm not actually angry. It's just kind of a weird thing that I've noticed. You know,
Yeah.
eccentricity of a friend that you just happen to notice sometimes.
We actually do have quite a few topics today, so let's see what it's funny. To those of you at home, I need to let you guys know. I have a channel in our Discord. It's literally called Topics and Tangents. And literally all we do is talk about all I put there is the tangents any tangent I can remember. I put it there.
Just this one.
It's to help me, but also it's to help Ray because he's the one designing the thumbnail. But usually by the end of the podcast, he already has the thumbnail already done. But it also helps for if we want to do like chapters and stuff in the future for our podcast when we're listening to them. But yeah, before we move on, I actually yes, I played a similar drinking game a long time ago, Harry Potter drinking game. It was Chamber of Secrets, and we had to it was something along the lines of, okay, every time someone calls Harry's name, take a sip. Every time every time somebody mentions the word like Voldemort, finish your drink, something like that. The thing is, I think because it was Chamber of Secrets, it wasn't really mentioned all that much.
I just want to cut in real quick and say I thought that you were saying every time, take a drink every time someone says Voldemort, finish your drink.
It was funny, and the thing is, there are websites dedicated to finding drinking games just for movies and TV shows, and it's it's actually really interesting. If you get a chance, definitely check it out. But yeah,
drink responsibly, though, please.
Yeah, please. You also can just
we
this
we at the Inkling Bros are not responsible for whatever happens.
We're not responsible for alcohol poisoning. Yeah.
On that
speaking
note,
of Harry Potter, though, I actually wanted to mention to you guys. I keep forgetting to mention it in our group chat, but have you guys heard of that edit of the first Harry Potter movie that replaces all the wands with guns?
No,
I have not, but that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
It literally replaces all the magic with guns and all that. So it's that moment in the first movie when Hermione fixes Harry's glasses on the train with her wand. It's
oh my
she
god!
Just pulls a gun out of
my god!
It's kind of hilarious.
Imagine Wingardium Leviosa. But
Avada Kedavra.
Avada Kedavra.
The killing curse, literally.
On that note, how are you guys doing? How's that?
Didn't you ask that earlier?
None of you answered it.
I did.
I said I was fine.
We all answered that, bitch.
Oh, so it's me now? Okay.
I mean, it's pretty nuts, but we're fine. I'm just getting shit done.
If That's you fair. Really need to know again, yeah, we're fine.
I'm okay too. I just started school again. Even though I was somewhat in school over the summer, I was taking some classes, also online. And I was taking some more classes. This semester. Hopefully a shorter semester. A lot of I find this really funny for you guys. I think you guys will find this funny. I was talking to one of my professors, in person, and he was like, well, I don't know if you guys have heard the rumor, but the engineering faculty is very suspicious that we're going to make it to October. And I was like, oh,
what does that mean?
because for those of you that don't know, some colleges went, hybrid or in person or remote completely. My school decided to go hybrid. So it is up to the professor if they want to teach it, remote, or they want to do a combination, or they want to do totally in person. So obviously for this course, the labs are going to be in person because realistically, an engineering lab, it would cost too much money to implement a virtual lab. So they they were saying essentially that, oh yeah, like based on how this school has handled the reopening process, it doesn't look they're not confident that we're going to make it to October before we shut down. Because for those of you that don't know what's happening in the real world, is that a lot of SUNYs in New York, for those of you also that don't know, SUNY stands for State University of New York, CUNY stands for City University of New York. CUNY went entirely remote.
Yep.
SUNY, on the other hand, they're leaving it up to the individual colleges to decide. SUNY Oneonta, if you haven't read the newspapers, they did full in-person reopening, and then I think they threw a party, and they had 500 cases of COVID, and they had to send everybody home. They went entirely remote. The similar thing is happening at
What
SUNY.
A shock!
Same thing is happening at SUNY Albany, except that they haven't closed yet, but they're talking about like they're going to have to close because they threw parties also. Not saying that my school's dumb enough to throw parties. It's a military institution. I don't think they're going to throw any parties. They haven't done that before. But I assume that, it's not any different in that case, because when people came back, they said there was a 3% positivity rate. And we know my school is kind of small. 3% is a lot. That's there are 1,200 kids on campus, maybe more. And 3%, that's at least, that's like 30 kids right there. And so if that's the case, that's pretty
3%
big.
of 1,200, that's like 36, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. That's just the kids that they tested, you got to think about also how many other people they haven't tested yet and how positive they are. And so that is, it's kind of scary in that way. So, that's why a lot of the faculty, thank God, most of my classes are remote lectures. Labs, unfortunately, will have to be in person, but, I can't really think of any other way to make the labs better, not in person.
When it comes to labs, it'd be really hard to make them virtual.
Yeah. If it's like a biology lab, I know that there were some people, especially like dissection, they have a lot of dissections online. Like you could just do a virtual dissection. It happens.
Yeah.
But you can't
you can play Bully Scholarship Edition. There's a biology class in that game, and in that class, there's a dissecting mini game. You can just do that.
Yeah, it's true.
All right, class, pop in your discs into your Xboxes and get going.
Pop in your copies of Bully Scholarship Edition.
Yeah. So, and I'm just kind of I'm glad. The things about engineering labs is that it's really hard to do it online. It's just not going to happen. And so as long as everyone's doing their part, wearing the mask, socially distancing, not taking off the mask at any point, you can conduct an engineering lab. Is it recommended? Hell no. But at the end of the day, I still need my degree. I've been in school for too long and I need to get out. So I have to do what I have to do while staying safe. But yeah, it's just
That's
really
the grind right now. It's like get the hell out of school as quickly as you can.
Thank
God, this is my last semester, so
yeah, this is hopefully my last year of undergrad. So let's pray.
Maybe you should take a break if the COVID situation isn't settled by the time you finish your undergrad.
Yeah, well, so the good news is about my master's degree program. For those of you that don't know, I'm doing a kind of a dual degree program ish. My master's degree is going to be in management, and so my master's is pretty much mostly online. It is, I think, 90% online. Maybe even 95% online. It just depends on how you register for classes. Literally, there is an entirely online way to get your degree. So it just depends on how you structure your classes. But yeah, and so, as much as it would, I absolutely have the the option to take a break. Also, I do know that I can do the entire thing online, which is good. And so far, I mean, so good. You know, the master's degree program classes have been kind of like chill, you know, especially online because you kind of do it on your own schedule. And so you you get to determine when you get to work and you get to determine when you want to like rest and just like do stuff. So that's going to be cool. So I'm not going to be really on campus, which is going to be fun. So even if the situation doesn't improve by next year, I think I'm going to be safe, which is good. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to. You know, just school and trying to survive out here, man. You know, that's a mood. But you know, I've been out a few times since. You know, I went out to grab obviously groceries, but like we're slowly getting back into like going into a retail store if we have time, or like going into the city once in a while just to like change the scene a little bit. I'll be honest, New York City looks kind of sad. It really is. I mean,
like if you looked at New York on a map, there would be an unhappy face drawn on it somehow.
I was telling these guys, I was showing them the picture of the McDonald's on Times Square, which is,
Gone.
for people that don't know, yes, they closed down because they opened one on the actual Times Square.
Yeah.
But it feels weird to me. I know, obviously, I complained about it in the beginning because I was like, why would you open a McDonald's when there's literally 1-2 blocks away? And then I don't know if someone heard me and they were like, you're right.
It just so happened, like, the McDonald's CEO heard you. Like, he was just passing by.
Like,
that kid has a point.
That kid has a point, and then closes the one on Times Square. I mean, on 47th.
Well, I mean, wasn't it closed because of COVID?
No, they were apparently already planning to close it. Because,
okay.
Yeah, they were already planning to close it, and COVID was kind of like the nail in the coffin for it. They just didn't reopen up. Which, I mean, it kind of sucks. If you go down to that building, all the signage is gone, and it just looks like it looks dead. It's kind of sad. And I mean, that place looked really grotesque too. Like it had like that, like
grotesque.
It had that interesting architecture inside. I really, it looked like kind of like a warehouse in some areas. But I really liked it, and for those of you that may or may not have been following the past 4 or 5 years, that is actually the place where we all kind of formed our team. That's
where we met.
Yeah, 6 years ago. That's actually where we met. In that McDonald's. You guys can still check out that vlog. It's on Ray's channel under Meatloaf Man. You guys can go ahead and
that was for my birthday. Yeah,
if we look and act awkward, that's because we were still teenagers. So
yeah, Ray, you turned 18 on that day, I think.
You did?
I did.
Yeah,
that was what the whole video was about. Like, I just
did
a vlog on my birthday.
I think I was still like 16 or 17 during that time.
Yeah, because you were 17.
Yeah, you were.
Okay.
Because you and Ray are same year. I keep forgetting you guys are older than me.
How do you keep forgetting?
Because we have such like minds. Like you ever get that feeling that when like you're like with a group of people who have who are like-minded, and you guys are kind of you talk all the time, that age difference kind of just like dissipates.
I mean, yeah,
right. A couple of years.
Yeah,
but obviously, if I'm talking to like a if I'm
talking to an 85-year-old man, it's like,
yeah,
he's definitely older.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just by the way that they speak. Or if I'm talking to a 18-year-old compared to like somebody like me who is now like 25, almost
25. Wow, you're older than me all of a sudden.
If I'm talking to somebody who's 18 and I'm 23 now, obviously I'm gonna cringe at things that they say, especially because when I find out that they were born in the 2000s and I was born in the 90s. I actually have a friend like that who she just turned 19. recently, and when I spoke to her, the first time I ever met her, she was like, "So what are taxes? How do you do them?" And I was just like, "Oh my god."
I mean, I don't know how to do them either. I just get a guy to do them.
Yeah, well, she didn't even know that she had to do them. And she had just started
How old is
working
she?
with me. She at the time she was 18, and she just turned 19. So I didn't say like, "Oh my god, you are like disappointing" or anything. No, I sat down and I explained it to her.
Oh my god.
I sat down and explained it to her, but there's just that feeling of like, wow, you're a lot younger. Like, and they have a lot of times they have all these questions about how life works, and it's actually really interesting to talk to somebody who's a little younger and you explain to them how the world works and
That
what?
that is I was just waiting to see if you had more to say.
No, okay.
But that is kind of pretty accurate actually. It still kind of weirds me out thinking about like people who were born past the year 2000, like in this millennium, because I mean we were born in like the mid to late 90s. At least me, Lawrence, and Ray. I know Henry, our friend Henry, was born a little earlier.
Yeah,
Like,
he's 25 or 26 now.
yeah, he's like early 90s.
Yeah.
But it's so weird to me, like seeing people and they're like, and I'm like, wow, so they were born like past the year 2000. They're
Yeah.
like, I'll say it like this: it is so weird to me that there are people out there that were born after Shrek came out, and I know some people might think that's a weird thing to say, but Shrek is one of the biggest pop culture icons from like when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things where it's like everyone knows what Shrek is. Everyone. So to think that there are people born past that and are just like, "What's Shrek?" It's crazy to me.
I sent you guys that article earlier from BuzzFeed.
Oh,
I know
I
BuzzFeed.
love that meme.
But it was really funny to think of because I was reading it and I'm like, holy shit. Like somebody, like one of the things that I'm reading here, it says, one of my students really wrote a sentence that begins, quote unquote, in the late 1900s. I had to reread it 3 times to realize what the heck was going on. My feelings are
Oh
hurt.
my god. Yeah.
And
Late
then
1900s, so around the time we were born.
yeah, and the other one, I asked my 15-year-old daughter if she had ever seen Seinfeld. Her response, "You mean that show from the late 1900s?"
Oh
And
my
I'm like,
God.
shit, I used to watch
Why-
Full House and like all the Family
you gotta say it
Matters,
like that?
Fresh Prince, 80s, 90s kids, and I'm just like, yo, like
We all
we old.
When you think about it, it doesn't really like that long ago, even though like
Right, yeah.
it kind of
It does,
isn't,
yeah.
because like obviously it happened like 2.5 decades ago at this point, but like it really doesn't feel that long in my head.
Don't
Because like
say
I
it
still
like that,
vividly remember
please.
doing this stuff.
It's exactly like that. It doesn't feel that long ago, but it actually kind of is. Like 2.5 decades is nothing to scoff at. Like the entire world has changed in that amount of time.
Oh yeah.
In many ways. So it's like, yeah, like in our heads, it doesn't feel that long ago that we were watching shit like Amanda Show, which was a show that
Oh
came
my
out in
God.
like late 90s, early 2000s. But in
Yeah.
reality, it has been a long time at this point. I
Look
know
at
the
this
one we always
yeah.
point to is we watched iCarly when it premiered. Like we saw
Yeah.
the pilot, and that pilot is over a decade old now.
And we're
When did
clear.
that show come out? Like 2008?
2006?
No,
Or
2007.
Was it 7?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember because I was in middle school.
Yikes. I can't
I
even.
still
That
remember
was
when
when
that
the
first
DS was
episode.
the latest console.
Dude, that's the thing. Like the DS and the PSP doesn't feel
Yeah.
that long ago to me.
Oh yeah, there's those
Yo,
memes that like, "Hey man, you okay? You kind of
Yeah,
you blacked
yeah,
out there."
Oh my god, those memes.
Nintendo Switch? What are you talking about? The Pokemon Diamond and Pearl just came out on Nintendo DS. Let's go play it.
Let's go play. It's like, oh
Like-
my god.
It's like, "Oh, wait, what? Donald Trump is president?" No, dude, there's this guy. His
No,
name is
man,
Bernie.
Obama.
There's this guy named Bernie Sanders. Can you believe he's running for senator?
God damn, we go back that far.
Yeah, dude, in 2006, that was when he was running for Senate. And I remember this because I saw it in a Dartmouth group, meme group, and it was like, "Hey, dude, are you okay? You want to go grab some pizza?" And they reference an old pizza shop that closed down like 10 years ago. And then they're like,
"Oh, guys, let's go get some Giovanni's."
And hey, man, come on, we got to get to the campaign event. Can you believe Bernie Sanders is running for president? And I mean, for senator? And I'm like, holy shit. It's funny. It's funny to think about. And here's another one that I was reading. I feel sorry for Netflix era kids. They will never know the high stakes adrenaline of running to the bathroom or the fridge bedroom in a single ad break with the beckoning call of a sibling screaming, "It's on!" to send you hurtling over furniture so you can get back in time. And somebody who's probably Gen Z or a Zoomer says, "Couldn't you just pause it?" And the person responds, "Oh, my sweet summer child."
You knew.
I still love
TiVo,
my parents were always like, just pause the game, and it's like I can't, like, it's so hard to explain to them. It's like, no, there are parts of games that you just can't pause, especially if you're playing online with people.
Yeah, and you're just like, I have to get to the next save point.
And they're like, what the hell is that? It's like, I can't though.
It's like, you could do it tomorrow. No,
I'm not doing that again.
Oh my god. I remember.
I especially felt all that when I went to visit my high school with Isaac, because we did that, I think, 1 or 2 years ago at this point. It was back when I first started grad school. I think it was my first semester, and towards the end of grad school, during like finals week, I had one day where I studied enough, and Isaac invited me to like go with him to visit our high school because we hadn't been there in like 4 or 5 years or something like that. And we're like, okay. And I was like, yeah, sure. It's been a long time since I literally had, ever since I graduated, I never went back to my high school ever. So I was like, yeah, sure. It'd be fun to like see our old teachers again. And I went there, and and like I talked about it before, all of it was such a huge nostalgia trip, where it's like the walk to the high school brought back flashbacks, the building itself and walking around it on our floor brought back a ton of flashbacks, seeing a lot of our old teachers brought back a lot of memories. Some of them had sadly moved on to teach in like other schools and all that, to like be closer to their families and all that. And I understood, but so I kind of missed them. But there were still a lot of teachers that were around when we were high schoolers. But the biggest thing that really made me feel old was there was like a banner in one of the hallways that had like from kids across our high school's existence doing like extracurricular stuff. And there was one part of it for like the musical group, like the theater group. And I was like, whoa, who is that? Oh, that's me. And I realized like, oh shit, that's an old picture of me, like completely babyface, no facial hair whatsoever, clearly younger. I didn't have glasses during the picture either, which is pretty huge. And I was like, I was just mesmerized by it, like showing it to Isaac. It's like, holy shit, for a while I didn't even realize that was me. And a student like walked by. I think she was like going to the bathroom or something, and she noticed us, and she noticed us talking about it, and she's like, oh, are you guys like graduates from here? And we're like, yeah, we're actually like college students and all that. I'm in grad school, and Isaac was like just finishing college, his undergrad. And so we told her that, and she's like, oh wow, when did you guys graduate? And we were like, 2014. It's like, and she was just like, whoa, I'm only a sophomore right now.
My
and
God.
I'm like, oh my god. I'm that old.
Yeah, we are that old now.
And we're saying this as if we're like 85 years old. We're only like in our early 20s. Like, obviously we're not old, but like we feel old when we go do shit like that.
It's so weird when I'm just
really
like,
put shit in perspective, man.
Yeah. She's like, oh yeah, I'm a sophomore, and she was so surprised to hear we were graduates from 2014. It's like, oh my god, she wasn't even in high school at that point.
Dude, like,
one time I visited my elementary school. I forgot how old I was, but I think I was like in probably high school, or maybe I was about to graduate high school. But sometimes I would visit my old elementary school just to see like some of the old staff that are there, and walking through it while I'm much older and not graduated because I transferred to a different school for 8th grade, but just going through there and then just seeing everything that used to be like, because I was small, I was younger back then while I was at this school, and everything looked like so much more bigger, and everything just felt like a whole different world inside the school. And then I go in and it feels like I'm walking through like a life-size toy playset, because I'm much taller, I'm much more older, and everything just looks like smaller in my perspective now. And I'm like, damn, all the outdated looking, technology and, furnishing in here. Like, it's just so surreal to walk through like a place you used to go to every single day. And then you just come in and I was like, wow, this is bringing back so much memories. But
Yeah, right?
I'm seeing it from a whole new perspective.
Because it, like, especially, I feel like especially high school, maybe middle school, if middle school was a decent period of time in your life,
Yeah.
they really imprint a lot of like memories in your head, because for 3 or 4 years, that's literally your daily thing, like going to that building and being there for like 8 hours every day. So
Right.
it does always trigger that when you visit it years later after you stopped, after you graduate and all that. I'll be honest though, I don't really remember elementary school at this point, or pre-K, but like middle school, I still vaguely recall like a decent amount of stuff. And high school, yeah, it feels like I'm watching a movie in my head when I walk through those doors, and it's like, oh shit, I'm remembering like
Yeah.
my first day of freshman year. I'm
Oh
remembering
my
like specific
god.
moments.
I remember those. I remember that so much. I remember that. Okay, I don't know if I'm crazy, but like
You're
it's
crazy.
really it's really funny because like there's these like memes and everything where just like, yo, like we absolutely all live the same exact life. And so I want to ask you guys this question. Have you ever, like, when you were, growing up and it was the first day of school, do you guys ever felt like there was like a different scent in the air, or like there was like a different feeling? Like every time it was like first day of school, it didn't matter if that was like your, you were there for the first time, or that was like a second or third year or something like that. But like there was always this feeling. I don't know if it was like a nervous feeling, or if it was like, or a different scent in the air of like grass or something like that. Um, on like your first day, like do you guys share that, or no? Am I crazy?
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of blanked out, so I have no idea what you just talked about.
So like, so what I'm saying is like, do you guys ever feel like there was like a different kind of air when it was like the first day of school, whether
Oh
it
yeah,
was,
yeah, yeah.
anything?
Oh, like the
I
air
mean,
felt
yeah,
different.
Yeah,
yeah,
like
it felt like
I
a
mean,
fully fresh
I think
again.
that's pretty normal. Like we see that a lot. Like the last blockbuster in the world. There are videos of people like visiting it because it's iconic at this point. The last blockbusters, and so many of them when they walk in, they're like, smells just like how I remembered it. Like, 'cause, yeah, at Blockbusters stores did have this distinctive like air and smell to them, and it's the same deal with like other stuff. Like I don't know. I haven't been to one in like a million years, obviously, because I think after middle school they stopped doing it. But I remember Scholastic book fairs that had
Yep.
a like distinctive
Yep.
air
Yeah.
and smell to
Mhm.
them because of all the books that are just in the room and ready to be bought by all of us.
Yeah. No, I was just wondering because, like, I remember every time it was like the first day of school, I don't know if it was just like nerves in the back of my head. I was never really nervous, but like, there was always this like feeling of like, well, it's the first day of school, bright eyed and bushy tailed a little bit, can't wait to see my friends or make some new one. And it was like, I really like a fresh air kind of smell of just like, well, this is a new day or something like that. I sound really white and I'm sorry, but I mean that's true. That's the truth. That's just I mean that's how it was every single year going into my first day of whatever school. If it was like high school, first day of like sophomore year, first day of like college, first day of like junior year of college or whatever, things like
God,
that.
yeah.
Like
First
I
day of
still felt it.
college, I still felt like a high schooler. First day of
Yeah.
college, I feel like I still felt like a high school for like the first year or two of college. Because I'll be
Yeah.
honest, my first year or so of college, I was basically just taking like random Common Core classes. And I'm not gonna explain what Common Core is because I'm sure like other states and other parts of the world don't have the same sort of system. It's a system like for CUNY specifically, but yeah, like my first year or two in like common was just taking Common Core classes. I was taking shit like Intro to Film was in my first semester of classes and all that, and even like I'm not like obviously as nostalgic about that as much as high school because I mean I make some friends during each semester, but they typically only last that semester, like people I talk to like in classes
Yeah.
and stuff and out after classes. But very rare it's very rare for me to like keep going with those friendships, and I'm fine with that. I mean, that's just the way it is. Like obviously we all have different paths in our lives. So, but it's fun while it lasts. So like I'm not that nostalgic over my first few years of college, but it does feel like such a blur at this point because I mean, yeah, at that point I didn't even know what like track for undergrad and grad I was gonna do.
Right.
Like it's such a blur to me at this point because it was literally just shit like intro to film, intro to media studies,
Yeah.
intro to
For
like biology.
For other people wondering, Common Core here in New York is pretty much the same as your distributive requirements or your college requirements. That's what they call them at other colleges.
Distributive requirements.
Yeah, so they're just really just like the courses they're at liberal arts colleges where they're like, yeah, explore a little bit, even if you know what you want to do, go and take a film course. Maybe you'll like it.
I mean,
you
and
guys-
my response to that would be, oh yeah, I did like it because it was fun. I do remember like we watched 3 movies in my intro to film class, and they were cool, and it was fun. Like it basically felt like a movie theater because we were in a big lecture hall, and they put the
Yeah.
movie like up on the screen.
Oh
So
yeah,
I
that's
remember
fun.
I brought like chips like to eat while I would watch it, and I was like, yeah, that class was fun. Not doing it for a career though, because I want to be able to get a job. But yeah.
I distinctly remember because at my old college they also used to there during the film classes there was also this one. It was a Japanese film course, and really all they watched like Miyazaki films and a lot of anime films. And obviously the assignments would be to write like a paper about them or like comparing, contrasting, and stuff like that. And it was really they would really just let anybody come in. And so I would, I had a friend in the course, so I literally like when I had time off in the day, I literally just go to that. It was an actual theater because we had an art building, and they had an actual theater where you could, with comfortable chairs and everything, you could sit down and watch it. Occasionally they had movie nights. And they also like they had a snack bar, where you can buy popcorn and like candy and stuff like that. And so, it was cool because they also took like our meal dollars. So I could just go in there and just say, "Hey, I need a bucket of popcorn" or some shit like that, and just like sit down and watch like a Miyazaki film. I think I watched Howl's Moving Castle. That was the one that I definitely sat through the entire thing. But yeah, that's really cool. Like I just love that feeling. I get high in that feeling. I felt it definitely this week because I just started school this week. And so I felt it on Tuesday, and it felt good also because at the same time, me knowing like shit, this is my last first day of school. Holy shit, man! Like that hit hard.
Oh, like your first day of college? Because you're not really gonna have like a first. I mean, I guess if you go to grad school, first day of grad school.
Yeah, and even then, it won't even really feel like it because I'd be taking that online too. So
First
this one
day
was
of grad school, and he's just on his bed.
yeah, first day of grad school, and then I'm like,
sleep.
yeah, I can sleep for 3 more hours and start work, and start listening to my lectures in 3 hours or something like that. No, but like this time it was the last first day of school. It's the last time I'll ever be saying like, first day of school, because this is supposed to be my last undergraduate year, if all goes well. And so, it felt so different because next year if I'm going to grad school, obviously I won't be feeling that same feeling, but this is the last time I'm going to be saying like, hey guys, it's my first day of school. Unless I go into like a an actual grad school and which like, you know, for full time and have to go in person and stuff like that, then yeah, I'll be doing first day of school again then. But I mean, this is like your, you know, but that's optional, right? I mean, I know obviously every step of your education is optional, but like, you know, the college is like that last point where like, you know, everything from here is up to you, right? Like you can go get a job, you can go and do graduate school, you can go and like you start a business or whatever, right? And but like you can't do that. You know, it's very hard to do it, but it's very possible still to do that if you don't like finish college. And it's also really, well, you know, very hard to do that if you don't go at all. It's still very possible because it's happened many times. And so it's like that last moment of solid structure to, you know, to your life, essentially. After that, it's kind of like the world's your oyster. Go do whatever the fuck you want, you know? And so that's why I felt really nostalgic about that because I was like, oh shit, man. Like, I've been saying this is my first day of school for like 16 years. Like, oh my God.
Do you guys ever have I'm sorry, you gonna say something?
Go ahead, go ahead.
I was wondering, do you guys ever have that moment when, you know, you go to high school, you go to college for like your very first day for either of them, and you just think to yourself, wow, I can't believe I actually made it this far.
Yes.
Because like I know that like, you know, even when you have some sort of confidence in yourself, obviously not saying to like ever doubt yourself when you're going through school. But do you guys just ever have that moment where you actually can't believe you managed to pull it off? Like you just got there?
Yeah, all the time, actually. I just like, you know, I'm always thankful for everything I'm going through, obviously. Because I feel like I'm just like whatever I'm going through, I have to like as part of what I'm doing, right?
Right.
And so, you know, there are times when I'm just like really just saying like, man, I can't believe I'm here, or like, or at the same time, I'm thankful that I'm in this position right now that I'm in. And it especially happened a lot of the times through high school. Certainly happened at my old college, also happened in my new college as well. Um, you know, I was really, you know, very happy that I'm just like, wow, I made it this far. And I still got more drive in me, you know? So yeah, it's always fun to think of. What about you, Eric?
What?
Like like do you ever get that feeling of like, man, like I can't believe like I got to this point in my life, you know?
At times I do, because I mean, like, uh, everything before high school isn't a completely like big imprint or memory of mine. Like I said, I don't remember all of middle school, most likely because that was not the best time of my life. So like some of it's been
Same.
blocked out at this point, but
Yeah.
like I do like get those moments at times because like I said, I do remember like my first day of middle school, and I remember it. I was like in the middle school. So for me, I went to neighborhood schools up to middle school. So like my pre-K, my elementary, and my middle school were all in my neighborhood. And I remember walking past my elementary school on my first day of middle school, 6th grade, thinking, "Man, I made it this far." And it's so
Yeah.
weird thinking back on that because it's like all it is just entering 6th grade, and here I am now, like on my last semester of grad school. So it's like, yeah, kind of funny to think about in retrospect.
Like
Yeah.
shit. Yeah. I know what you mean. Well, I mean, so we've kind of been diving into this topic a little bit, but I kind of moved it all the way to the top because I figured we were already on this topic. But nostalgic things that we were into. We were kind of talking about it a little bit right there especially when we were talking about like the blockbuster and all. But Eric, you mentioned you wanted to talk about this, so
Well, so the topic title that you wrote in our chat isn't even exactly accurate because
I
I brought up this topic
yeah.
a way back, like at least a month back at this point, where it was like things that that we're nostalgic about, but then we go back to them and we realize that they're not all that great.
Oh, that's why I put all the question marks.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think that's why. I think that's why you did that. I was so confused at first, but I brought that topic up because I remember so this happened because I was on YouTube one day over the summer. Like I was just bored. I didn't feel like playing any games or whatever. So I was just browsing social media and YouTube. And on my recommended feed came up a video that was a review of the Channel Awesome trilogy, if you will, which is like the 3 movies Doug Walker and that group of Channel Awesome folk
right.
did back in like 2011, 12, 13, something like that. And when I saw that, I was like, "Oh wow, yeah! I remember when I was in high school, I was super into Nostalgia Critic, but then like I eventually like grew out. I mean, super into it. Like I would watch every new episode. It was basically like AVGN. I
Same.
was super into
Yeah.
AVGN and Nostalgia Critic, and I would watch like every
Yeah.
new episode and everything. They were like the god tier when it comes to like internet entertainers for me at that time. And
Right.
like I said, keep in mind I was in high school at the time. I was like 14 years old. But you know, with a lot of things, as I grew older, I kind of stopped watching it and I moved on. Like I think by the time I finished high school and like early college was when I kind of just stopped watching Nostalgia Critic. I still keep up with like James Rolfe and AVGN because James Rolfe is like he's basically the godfather of like content creation or like internet entertainers. And he's still really good at it because he keeps up with the times and he adapts and all that. And I feel like a lot of people, including Doug, is not very good at that because I eventually stopped watching. But then but like you know that thing where it's like you stop watching something, but these positive memories sort of linger in your mind of it, like like it made you feel good and all that. So like you stop watching,
Right.
say, a TV show, but you still hold like positive feelings about it.
Right.
But then in the case of Nostalgia Critic, I went back to it around the time when that Channel Awesome controversy happened in like 2018, something like that. And when that happened, I mean, I was disgusted, obviously, as I'm sure most people were, especially when uh,
Oh yeah.
Channel Awesome basically did like a non-apology when they finally addressed the issues and whatnot.
Mhm.
And I mean, when I saw that, I was like, man, I'm glad I don't watch them anymore. But out of curiosity, like, I went to look back at like some of like Nostalgia Critic's older videos, like videos that I was watching in high school. And when I watched it, I'm just like, man, this really did not age all that well. What felt like comedy gold, like top class entertainment to me as a teen. Now at that point, only 4 years later, I think I was only like what 20 or something at the time, like 20, 22, 21, something like that. At that
Yeah.
point, it was just bad. Bad, like bad. And then when I watched this review of like
It's weird, right?
yeah, and then I saw this. So the funny thing is, when I was into Nostalgia Critic, I actually never saw any of those movies he did, like on his website. Like I never saw Kick Assia or Suburban Nights or To Boldly Flee. I heard of them because it was always on like their webpage, but I never bothered to see it. I don't know. I guess I just wasn't all that interested in seeing a movie made by them because I guess
Right.
in the back of my mind I knew it would be very cheap. But like this review over this past summer showed up in my recommended feed, and I was like, this seems kind of interesting because I'd never seen these movies. So I'm gonna check out this review, and it was like a two-parter. And it's funny, after watching that, I got more recommended videos of that Channel Awesome trilogy, if you will. And I mean, suffice to say, those movies are god awful. Like badly written, badly directed, badly acted, and it kind of is an early spotlight at like what was going on in Channel Awesome and eventually it kind of crashed and burned, and nowadays that website is barren. I think all that's left on that website besides Nostalgia Critic is Guru Larry, and I think he's only on there as a joke
Yeah, that's literally the whole reason he's still on there.
because apparently they just forgot about him. So he's like, "Fuck it, I'll just stay there, I guess," because no one really even remembered I was a part of it. And I think some other guy, Cinema Snob or whatever, is still on that site, but everyone else kind of up and left. And when I saw like these reviews and all that, and then I remembered like my experience back when the controversy was brand new. It really made me think. It's like, man, there are plenty of times where it's like there's this nostalgic thing that you like hold dear, but then when you go back to it, you realize it really wasn't very good at all, actually. And I think that's kind of normal because your tastes evolve as you get older. So something that you might find amazing as a kid, as an adult, you might be like, oh god, this is trash and all that. And I brought it up to these guys to see if they have experiences similar to that. So because I wanted to see what they had to say in regards to stuff like that.
I mean, back in the day, I used to be really into like, this is a little more recent, but I used to be really into Markiplier and game theory, like really heavily into them. Like I used to watch them literally all the time, and as much as like Markiplier is like he's a decent, wholesome man.
I mean, I'll be honest. I feel like you shouldn't feel that ashamed about liking Markiplier.
I'm not.
People
it's just
still
that,
like Markiplier.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just feel
I like Markiplier in the sense that I think he's a very cool, wholesome,
no, absolutely.
legitimately caring and genuine human being. I don't really care for his content too much because it doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah,
like,
no,
I'm not the
absolutely
primary demographic, but I have nothing against Markiplier as a person. I mean, for one thing, dude's very hot. But another thing is that he is a genuine, like, really cool person. He's constantly doing like charity drives and all that, and you could tell like he cares about people. He's not a sociopath like so many YouTubers seem to be these days.
Yeah,
or at least the big ones. So it's like Markiplier's a-okay in my book. Like, I don't give a shit if I'm not really into his content because he's like one of the only real people on that site at this point.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I love Markiplier as a person, and I just back in the day, I just was heavily into it, and it doesn't hit me as much as it used to. I know I was always, back then I was really on the FNAF train, like Five Nights at Freddy's.
God, I still remember his FNAF phase.
It was cool. Like, it was cool.
Hello,
and then
everyone. Markiplier.
It got really out there. At some point it definitely felt a little more kind of like a cash grab with all the merch and stuff like that was coming out for FNAF. But even like, I love that Markiplier, even then he still played like obviously he played a lot of other games in between. And I still enjoyed that content as well, and it made me pick up a lot of other games too, outside of FNAF. That really got me into like the hype of like, man, being like watching tech YouTubers and wanting to build my own setup. And I kind of branched out. I got into watching other YouTubers, and eventually I just kind of fell out because I wasn't really interested in his content anymore. And I just kind of figured out like, I just kind of liked seeing his reactions when he was playing games that I probably wasn't necessarily into. On the other hand, we have somebody like MatPat who just absolutely went down the drain for me. Look,
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Game Theory.
A lot of his, in my opinion, a lot of his earlier theories were more scientifically based, and he even was doing that.
I like those earlier episodes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then he started doing shit like, "Did you guys know Mario is mental?"
Yeah, it started to get less and less scientific and more of like, I'm gonna do a Google search and then form my own conspiracy theory about it. And
Wonderful.
I
told you, this man
he has
is
so
insane.
many channels at this point.
Yeah,
we were talking about film theory, which I guess was an okay kind of spinoff to make. But then there's food theory now, where he's like making theories like, how does Kool-Aid Man fare up against Thanos or whatever that theory was?
Okay, I was about to say that exact video. Just seriously,
talk about it.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, thankfully. I was just going through his entire through all the videos one day, and it was all about things like Kool-Aid Man is a Marvel villain. I'm like, excuse me? What do you mean? There was another one which we talked about recently. as a group.
Also, I know he's a food mascot, but what does this have to do with actual food?
Another one, Chuck E. Cheese.
You want to know what my reaction to all
Chuck E.
these
Cheese
fucking...
pizza.
You want to know what my response is to all these different channels and like topics he makes? Whore. I mean that describes him in a nutshell. He's a fucking whore at this point. Just
Jesus.
constantly like making so many channels. He's obviously in it for the money. He doesn't give a shit about anything else.
At first, I could have believed like, oh yeah, man, he really got big. And I was actually starting to enjoy even film theory. This was when I was just like, and
I would not trust someone like him when it comes to opinions on film. I'm just gonna be real.
And then when it started to get, it started to get out there, I literally just couldn't even follow anything that he was saying. And
who's the real villain in Avengers Endgame?
Yeah, and it's like
Thanos.
It's actually
like, very obviously him.
And then,
you're looking too deep into it.
And then he theorized. He was like, the actual villain is Iron Man, and let me tell you why.
This is coming from
Let's
someone
go back
who
to
doesn't
Iron Man
like
2.
Iron Man. This is coming from someone who doesn't like Iron Man. I would have clicked off that video as soon as I heard that.
I did too. That is actually something that, like, I won't think, like, it's not out of the picture. He absolutely would make that argument. And you know why? Because he's going to go and he's going to say, well, listen to this. Go back to Civil War. If you look at and you see, well, maybe if Iron Man and Captain America weren't fighting each other, maybe they would be united and Tony wouldn't have to die. Spoiler alert. Wouldn't have to die at the end of Endgame, and they'd be able to create a united front against Thanos. And I'm sitting here like, bold strategy, Cotton.
All right, I say that a lot. Now you're stealing. Obviously, I didn't make that quote, but like I referenced it the most.
But and so that's my thing, like I honestly and I'll give him credit where credit is due. He actually decoded some of the FNAF lore, and Scott Cawthon came out and said, like, yeah, you're 99% right. Like, you're pretty much right there. And also, side note, I do want to give a shout out. I'm not really giving a shout out to him because he's not watching this, but give a shout out to Scott Cawthon.
Yo, thanks, dog.
To Scott Cawthon.
Can you imagine? He's like, "You're welcome, guys."
If you guys are figuring this out, that Scott Cawthon actually recently he developed a fund for fan-made games of FNAF.
Yeah,
right?
I remember.
And he said that he is going to throw some of his own money that he made from the FNAF licensing and stuff like that, so he can help to fund the porting of fan-made FNAF games to consoles. And I was like, yo, that's dope. Like, and he was doing it because he cares for the community. He cares for the creators that made these games. They put their heart and souls into it. And so, I'm very I was very happy to hear that. Especially at a time like now, you don't really know who's on, like, which creators are on your side and who isn't. And so it was really good, even though, like, for me, I fell out of the FNAF universe kind of like very quickly. I mean, I still watched like the VR stuff when it came out, and I watched Markiplier play it.
I'll be honest, I didn't even know the fucking games were still happening. That's how
they don't happen as often anymore. But
I feel like that's a good thing, because there was one coming out like every 2 months. It felt.
He's still writing books. So here's the thing that I got mad about. So they were planning to do a movie. I remember I did a Lorenzo news on the movie when it was coming out. And they were also doing the books. And I picked up the first book and I read it. It was good. And picked up the second one. It was decent. Then after that, I was just like, wow, they're on their 6th book already. My God, I cannot follow this. And, then they started doing the retail releases. Then he started hiding hints and coloring books and stuff like that for the lore. And this we could talk about this either definitely later, but it kind of goes into that last topic over there about the issue of issues with comic books. It's like, I don't want to have to buy this random coloring book to decode the lore. That's not my job. like I want to, like, I get that you want to make it puzzling and shit like that, but I'm not going to go into a random coloring book just to see, like, oh shit, you see that thing that he's holding? That's actually really important to the story. And that was me quoting Matt Pat at that point, because that's something he would say. And that's something that I'm going on about. That just like Matt Pat, I used to be really heavily into him and all of his theories, but it just got very tiring, exhausting, and it became so out there that I was just not interested in his stuff anymore. I'll be honest, he makes some dope merch. I got his socks a long time ago, and they are still one of my favorite socks that I have. But outside of that, I mean, I don't like really watch him anymore, and that just, it died very quickly. I used to be into, like, I used to be into Chugga Conroy also back in the day. I'm not as into him anymore.
I mean, I feel like that an answer like that isn't really the same as like me with nostalgia credit.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Chugga Conroy, that's something that maybe you just stopped watching just because you don't have as much time, as much free time. It's not like you go back to it and it's like, oh god, he was awful.
Yeah,
He's obviously not, but
yeah, I'm just trying to think of like things that I was into that, but I'm trying to think of others.
I feel like Matt Pat. I almost forgot his name. That's how little I care about that guy. Matt Pat's definitely a good answer for that.
Yeah.
I remember this guy especially, because I'll be honest, I was never into Matt Pat and game theory and all that shit. I thought it was stupid. I always did. And this motherfucker right here would always defend it when I would say it's like I wouldn't go on a rant, but I'd be like, I genuinely don't fucking see the appeal with like game theory and film theory and all that. And Lawrence would defend him, not vehemently, but he would defend him, be like, no, he's done some really good stuff, man. and then these days, Lawrence is like, God, what the fuck was I thinking? Like,
yeah, I mean,
that way.
It's true. I mean, like, it's just like that time that I went back on like my feelings for Iron Fist and Captain Marvel, where I was like, God damn.
That whole Iron Fist epiphany that Lawrence has is still fucking hilarious to me.
It's like, God, I just can't live with myself. I mean, I'm serious. Like, I was serious though. I just felt really bad. I was like, wow, I thought this was good. I'm trying to think of like other things that like things I was into. I was just like, wow.
Well, I mean, how about this? How about Ray? Do you have any that like matches? Any experiences like that, like me with Nostalgia Critic or Lawrence with Matt Pat? All right. Guess not. Did his mic die?
Like stuff that we used to be into, but we don't necessarily watch anymore.
Yeah.
Oh God, were you talking that entire time? Because I guess your mic just like cut out completely for us. Because you were silent for a while there.
Yeah, I had my mic muted there.
Oh well, yeah. It's just something like Nostalgia Critic with me or Matt Pat with Lawrence, where it's like we were really into it. We kind of stopped watching as we grew older, but then when we like would revisit it or we would look back on it, we'd be like, wow, how are we so into this when we were younger? Because it doesn't hold up and all that, something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be YouTube. Also, by the way, it can be.
Yeah, it obviously doesn't have to be YouTube. It could be like a video game or a movie or a TV show as well.
I've definitely had that. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I know for a fact that I've experienced stuff like that where I used to be super into it. I guess maybe, and I hate to say it because I really like the guy and I really like the stuff that from back then when I first watched it. But I guess the older episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged.
No. Yeah.
Oh, Little Grebo and all that.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it's kind of fair because each episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge is kind of a product of its time with how much like Little Grebo.
The first episodes came out like 2006, something like that.
Yeah, those were like Windows Movie Maker level kind of stuff, and it was going off of whatever humor was like considered funny around 2006. So, yeah, if you go back to those older, like say if you wanted to binge watch the entirety of Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge, like you'll have to like go through all of that. And like if you watch it nowadays, it just feels, I guess, kind of concurrent with like how much he's improved, and like with jokes and I guess stuff that's like more relevant. And then he's also doing more stuff with the series. Like, obviously it's still a parody of Yu-Gi-Oh, but he's like making longer episodes. He's adding more like character dynamic to his interpretation of the characters. So like, yeah, it's a whole thing. But I do think that like if you go back and try to like just I guess binge watch all those older episodes, it's kind of hard to do. And back then, we used to consider those episodes funny and rewatchable. And nowadays it's like, oh yeah, this was an episode I really liked. And I mean, not all those episodes are like that, but you guys know what I mean, though. I feel like there's other examples I can think of, but that's just the one that comes to mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair because I'll be honest, I haven't seen Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge in a while, so I don't know how I feel if I watched those old things, but those old episodes, I mean. But I do remember really liking some of those older episodes. But nowadays, yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, like the newer episodes are longer. They clearly have much better audio quality and visual quality. Like it's night and day when you compare it to the beginning and the current status of that show.
Yeah. Although I do appreciate that he makes fun of it from time to time.
Oh
whenever
yeah,
they revisit like the older stuff. Yeah. Like he knows.
I had something on my mind. I just can't remember which one it was. Shoot, it was either a movie or it was like a movie. Oh, a lot of like really old Disney Channel original movies.
Oh, like you go back to them and you're like, oh god.
I actually watched quite a few of them recently because I was nostalgic. Of Disney
Plus.
Yeah, and so I watched. So fun fact, I just watched Teen Beach Movie recently. That was the first time I ever watched it. Right? I know it doesn't really count, but it came out in 2013. Okay, and when I watched it, I was sitting there like, oh my god, what the hell is this? And I, no offense, and I mean, among audiences, younger audiences, I'm sure they'll love it. And like, it got like a really high rating, and then I think there were like one or two sequels to it. But I was watching it, and I was like, I don't see how this is good. It felt confusing. I know it's not like I'm sitting there trying to analyze the plot, and maybe that's like a key for me.
Guys trying to like looking at a Disney Channel original movie and trying to analyze it like fiction.
See, even watching something like High School Musical, right? Like I still understand the appeal of it when I was younger, but like this movie, like I tried watching it, I guess because it was the first time I was watching it. Back when I watched High School Musical and stuff like that, I was a kid, and so it was just.
I have no shame in liking High School Musical at this point.
No, me too.
My response is, yeah, I was like 8.
It's true.
Fuck you.
I went out of my way to go see High School Musical 3 when it came out in theaters.
I wanted to, but I didn't.
I also did in fact go see the Hannah Montana movie 3D concert.
All right, I didn't go that far.
And the Jonas Brothers concert.
All right, really?
Hey man, I did.
I also went and saw the Justin Bieber movie.
I didn't, unfortunately.
I saw the One Direction movie.
No. The first two concert movies were just those. Those are the only two I saw.
Did you not go see the Justin Bieber and the One Direction movie because you didn't want to look like a pedophile, since at that point you were too old for it?
No, my friend, I only went to go see those with like friends at the time, and nobody
that makes sense.
nobody wanted to see it with me, so I didn't go see it. And so,
what did they say? I'm not watching that shit.
No. So I actually. So here's the story. The Jonas Brothers movie. I went on a date with a girl. This was my very first date ever. And we had went to go see that one together. And that was just kind of it. We just saw it, and that's it.
This is it.
And then after that, before that, I went to go see the.
Wasn't that the Michael Jackson movie? This Is It.
Yes, the 3D concert experience. Before I think it was before that. I'm not sure if Jonas Brothers came first or Hannah Montana came first. But before that, for the Hannah Montana concert, I went to go see it with a friend, who I didn't know was hitting on me the entire time. You know, he was just kind of talking about how he wanted to go see the movie, and I was like, yeah, sure, sounds cool. And I mean, I didn't really see that he was hitting on me the entire time during the movie. And I was like, what? I was like 13 or 12 at the time, so I was just like, I was like, okay, that's cool. So I didn't really have all that many good experiences with the those concert movies. But
I didn't see a single one. I honestly just
I've never went out to those.
I've never went out to those concert movies. Yeah, the
Yeah.
only one I ever watched was at home, and I watched the Michael Jackson one because
That
I was
one's worth
big. I was such a Michael Jackson fan, and if we want to make this a topic later on, like maybe in a future podcast, but like celebrity deaths that like hit you
Oh,
pretty hard, Michael Jackson's
Oh,
death
yeah.
honestly hit me like
Michael
pretty hard.
I still remember that.
I still his music is still just genius to me, like
Yeah.
the best that pop has to offer easily, and that's coming from someone who loves shit like Hall and Oates and other like classic pop icons, and even modern pop as well. There's plenty of good modern pop.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Michael Jackson stuff really hit me hard, and I was only
That
like
one-
13 at the time.
That was, I was watching a podcast recently, and somebody was talking about though, like there are certain deaths, like celebrity deaths, that like you will always remember where you are. And I remember when Michael Jackson died, I was in a Barnes and Noble, and my friend had texted me like, "Dude, check the news," and I'm like, "Why? Michael Jackson died." And then I called him up and I said, "Are you serious?"
Called Michael Jackson up?
No, you dead? Yo, you dead?
What? You ain't dead.
And so I called my friend up.
Like,
I said, "Yo, what happened?" And he said, "Dude, he's dead." And I'm like, "Are you serious?" And
for the last time, he's dead.
and then I went. I was in a Barnes and Noble, so they had a Starbucks which had a TV. I immediately went to the Starbucks, and people were lining up in front of the TV to look at what it said, and it said Michael Jackson found dead in his house. I'm like, what the hell? And it really felt like one of those like movie moments where like there's like a bunch of people crowding around a TV screen at like a coffee shop or a news station or whatever, or an airport, and they're all just looking to see what the news says. And it was like, oh yeah, well, somebody died or something like that. I mean, more recently,
you don't really expect to hear. Yeah, like, oh yeah, this person that you really like, that you did not expect to die this year, has passed away.
Yeah. This year, also, I mean, Chadwick Boseman recently, rest in peace.
I guess we're
Rest
doing the
in peace,
topic now.
Chadwick
I was
Boseman.
thinking we could save it. But yeah, Chadwick Boseman was a very tragic death.
Yeah, I remember,
And he died recently. So
yeah,
that's why we're mentioning it.
When I remember, I was outside, in the park, and you tweeted you sent the tweet to us.
I did?
Yes, that was how I found out.
Was it me?
Yeah.
Oh shit, it was.
You sent the tweet in the group. And I was just like, nah, bro, that can't be real.
When I saw it, I was shocked. So I was like,
yeah,
it's not that Chadwick Boseman, is it?
Yeah.
But yeah,
and
no.
then you click on the tweet to check if the check mark is next to his name.
Yeah, and that was that one. I also remember another one really recently, the Kobe Bryant one.
Oh, right. That was also from this year. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big one for me because I love Kobe so much, and it's my favorite basketball player, and so I remember the exact feeling. I woke up to a bunch of text messages from like friends who watch basketball. They're like, "Guys, yo, rest in peace, Kobe died." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" And I turned on the news and I saw, oh my God, he died in a helicopter crash. And then I was looking furiously online, and I was like, oh my God, like this is real. This is a dream. This can't be a dream. And like all my friends, like they all like took like their moment of silences. They just like shut off social media and all that. And I remember, like, I was in my room at the time, and I was just like, oh man, I remember the exact feeling. But that one was a big one for me. Yeah, that's those are the three that stand out for me right now. I'm sure if you guys mention any others, like I'm gonna remember. I'm gonna
Robin
remember that
Williams
one.
is another one I'd say. That one kind of hit me
Oh
fairly hard.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that one definitely. I don't remember where I was when I found that out, but I do remember that one did hit me hard.
All right,
Yes,
so
anyway.
there's our random topic of celebrity deaths that hit us hard
Wait, did
out
you?
of
But
nowhere.
like, is there any others though? Like, I'm
I
trying to
mean,
think.
I only brought up like, oh, we could probably make this a topic in like a future podcast, and then you're like, nah, let's just do it now. Let's just start talking about celebrity deaths.
I was thinking. I used to be a huge Glee fan,
Oh
and
boy, here we go.
the death of Cory Monteith, the lead protagonist in that show, that one made me feel like really, because I was in the Philippines and I remember I was like, I was a big Glee fan, and then all of a sudden I hear this news and I'm like, nah, that can't be real. And then I found out it was real. So, but yeah, what about you guys?
I have no idea who that is. I'll be honest. I never watched Glee. I was never interested in it. I mean, I'm trying to think. I mentioned Michael Jackson. Robin Williams was one. Chadwick Boseman, in a way, kind of was, because, I mean, I criticized the movie Black Panther, but I mean I criticized his character in that I didn't find T'Challa as interesting in his own movie as I did in Civil War. Where in Civil War, I actually thought he was a great character, but in Black Panther, I felt like Killmonger really stole the show. But like, I mean, that's obviously not indicative of him as an actor. He was obviously, superb. He was Jackie Robinson in that movie 42, and he did a lot
Yeah,
of other cool stuff. I mean, the guy was working despite, being diagnosed with cancer, and no one knew he was dealing with something like that. And when the news broke out, I mean, I saw everyone, even people like me that are very outspoken when it comes to criticism of the MCU and all that. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's tragic what happened to him. Like he doesn't deserve that. And
yeah,
despite all my criticism of stuff like the MCU and how like annoying it is at this point because of, I guess, just how much it's taken a foothold on pop culture, I obviously don't hold that against actors like him who are just, doing their job. And in all fairness, despite all my problems, or I guess it's not even like that the movie's god awful, obviously. It's just some certain issues I have with that movie. Despite all of them, like it'd be hard to deny that like it did make an impact in the African American community. I mean, there were plenty of like young black kids that were excited to see
yeah.
like, a superhero just repping African culture and all that.
Yeah, a superhero that looks like them as well too.
Yeah,
That was-
so like it's like, obviously we joked, it's like, guys, this movie ended racism because some of us had interesting theater experiences,
oh
mostly
my god.
Lawrence. But like, yeah, I mean, it's undeniable that the man made an impact, and
Yeah.
he will be missed. Rest
Yeah.
in peace, Chadwick Boseman. Absolutely.
Yeah, and he passed away on Jackie Robinson Day, which was
Yeah,
interesting.
I mean, that was almost
As well as
scary,
I think
'cause-
Jack Kirby's birthday as well.
yeah.
Oh shoot, yeah,
The Jackie Robinson thing, though, that was almost scary to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's way too coincidental. Like, the man
Yeah.
was played Jackie Robinson in a biopic a few
You want
years
to know?
back.
So I told you guys a couple weeks ago. I was collecting baseball cards, Topps Project 2020, and in the morning, obviously of Jackie Robinson Day, an artist obviously has to, would absolutely have to capitalize on the fact that it's Jackie Robinson Day, right? And so it was so scary because the guy who it was a Chicago artist. His name is Don C. And he, his portrayal of the card it was a Jackie Robinson, like, how like in urban neighborhoods when like somebody dies, like they memorialize that person with like a graffiti mural.
Yeah.
So on that day, they did his card was a graffiti mural of the Jackie Robinson rookie card that they put onto that piece, and obviously it says you will be forever missed. And then like that evening we got the news that like Chadwick had died, and I'm like, holy shit. Like, I guess, it was just a really like weird coincidence, but like, man, that was something, honestly. Another one that I was thinking of was the death of Uncle Phil.
Oh God, yeah, that
James
was
Avery.
pretty sad. James Avery, he was such a cool guy. And
Yeah,
I loved
that
him as
is
Uncle Phil on Fresh Prince.
that is very sad. Yeah.
I remember it was the day after Christmas. I found that I remember that.
God, yeah, I remember I started rewatching some like classic Fresh Prince episodes after I heard that.
I don't know if you guys heard it, and this is kind of off topic, but Fresh Prince are doing a reunion. Apparently, old Aunt Viv and Will Smith.
Oh yeah,
they
for
squashed
the
their
first
beef.
time in years, old Aunt Viv is actually coming to a reunion for Fresh Prince, and that's kind of
Holy
wild.
shit.
That is wild, because old Aunt Viv was always, I mean, I'll be honest, always better than new Aunt Viv. Nothing against the actress, but just old Aunt Viv had a much greater presence on that show.
Absolutely.
And I love the actress, but I mean, when you heard about what happened, like behind the scenes, I couldn't blame them for replacing her. But
Yeah.
I mean, if she's showing up to a new reunion, I hope that they're able to like make amends. I
No,
guess.
they already. So apparently, Will Smith and her already made amends, right? So they already squashed their beef.
But did she make amends with the others, like Alfonso?
That's probably something that because they said that they were shocked when they found out that they squashed their beef.
Wow.
They found out through the Instagram post.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it was kind of funny. They see that, but he ended off that picture of the old cast by saying like rest in peace, James.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, man, that was like
there's talks of rebooting Fresh Prince, and I mean, like,
as a drama.
As a drama, and I'm not gonna like boycott it or anything like that, but it's gonna feel so weird without someone like James Avery. Like he was such a huge force in that show.
Well, it's
It won't feel
James
weird.
Avery, you can't really replace him, is the thing.
You can't replace him as Uncle Phil. That's the thing. He is Uncle Phil, and there's no one else that can do it better than him.
Like, even I would say like Carl Winslow, maybe. Like he had a very similar Uncle Phil like vibe too.
The guy from Family Matters.
Yeah, and like
I remember there was a scene in Family Matters, I think, where like Uncle Phil came onto the set. Yeah.
And I think at that point they broke character and they just started laughing and
You didn't expect to see him on there.
Yeah, and I mean, I know we always talk about like ACAB, like all cops are bastards, right? Like, but like, I feel like Carl Winslow is one of the more woke.
One of those exceptions,
I mean,
in
it's
fiction.
very easy to make a fictional cop not a bad person.
Yeah, well,
because it's fiction.
Well, also, like he was saying, there were a lot of episodes where he addressed like the problems with, the police.
But I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now, and I'm not trying to be political, but you know what the difference between those shows and in real life? In real life, Carl Winslow would have been fired.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree, but I mean, even in Fresh Prince, they address like the similar topics too. Because remember, early episode where.
I mean, Fresh Prince didn't have like a character as a cop, so I guess it was easier
to
digest
but
in
there
today's like society. But there are some good messages in there.
Yeah, there was an episode where Carlton got arrested because he was driving a car, like a really fancy car.
Yeah.
I remember that, and then they said that and he was struggling with that fact in his head, that just because
that he was racially profiled.
Right, exactly, and so
Will knew, and Will tried to tell him, but Carlton was just like, no, they were just doing their jobs and all that.
Yeah.
And he tried to talk to James Avery's character, Uncle Phil, and Uncle Phil, like, I mean, very subtly, just kind of admitted, it's like, that is a thing. Like, he didn't outright say it, but it just kind of leaves Carlton stunned and just standing there. And I guess he slowly realizes, like, yeah, racism is still it was still a huge problem in the 1990s when that show was, airing. Still a problem today.
Yeah, and I mean, it was kind of interesting to think about because, like, that show was coming on, like, right around the time that, like, one of the first civil unrest in the country regarding race happened. The Rodney King riots, 1994. And so, like, it was interesting to see that, like, they did, obviously they referenced it. They also referenced the OJ stuff as well, and they play, obviously if you've ever watched the OJ case or you know anything about it, you know that they definitely played the race card at some points. But like, it's interesting to go back and watch these shows. I mean, I'm eventually gonna get into a Family Matters rewatch because it's been so long. It's actually been almost 10 years since I rewatched Family Matters. So it's going to be interesting. It's all on Hulu. Also, Everybody Hates Chris. It's also on.
Everybody hates Chris.
I think it's on Hulu. I don't remember. I told you guys it's either on Hulu or HBO. One of those. It's so hard to keep track of all these services. But I know it exists. It exists. Oh, I remember another one.
Jesus, how many celebrities did you cry about?
Iwata?
Okay, yeah, that's true. Iwata came out of nowhere.
Alright, look, I've never cried to any of these celebrity deaths, even the ones I mentioned. I was
maybe
just
not
sad
cry,
about
but
it.
like I guess
I absolutely just like felt really like shitty, about it.
And
I know.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say one unexpected death that I remember from around the same time Michael Jackson died. Actually, Billy Mays when he passed away, and the news came out about that.
Right, I remember that.
That was a big thing.
Look, I'll be honest. I only know Billy Mays just from the commercials. I have no idea how he was as a person.
Billy Mays here.
That death really didn't affect me in any way because I was just like, oh, I mean, that kind of sucks because he seems like a decent guy, but I don't know him, so I have no clue if he was a good person.
I think it was a drug overdose.
I didn't think much of it.
Yeah,
personally.
That one was hard. I remember I was in elementary school and James Brown had died. It's like 2006 or 2007. And that one hit me hard because I was like, whoa, celebrity death. Because I was such a kid. Yeah, I was a kid and I didn't really understand all that stuff really all that much. I was just like, whoa, it happens to famous people too? Yeah. And
you thought famous people didn't die?
I was a kid, man. I was in like first grade or kindergarten, so I didn't really know what was going on.
Wait, which celebrity are you talking about right now?
James Brown.
And when did he die again?
2006, 2000. It was either 2004, 2006. I can't remember.
You were not in like first grade at the time.
Let's see. Wait, let me see when he
died in 2006. You were not 5 years old in 2006.
There's a drink.
No, I was. Hold on. How old was I? I was 8.
This motherfucker doesn't know how old he is.
I was.
How old am I?
3 and 6. I was 9.
I need answers.
9. You were nearing the end of elementary school at the time, and this motherfucker's like, yeah, I was in pre-K.
Wait, dude, you were probably in first grade around 2002, 2003 or something.
And this motherfucker's like 2009 or 2006. Oh man, clearly I was 5 years old at the time.
I'm probably thinking of someone else then. There's the flub, everyone. I hope you took your shots.
Oh, I will say this in regards to celebrity deaths. Iwata did hit me decently hard in the sense that obviously I didn't know the man, but he seemed to be a decent person as a human being. Like, he would cut his own salary to help the employees of.
Dude, he's the whole Nintendo. Reason. He's the whole reason we have the Kanto region in the Gen 2 games.
Yeah, I mean,
because he managed to make it fit on the cart.
His achievements are commendable. Like the fact that he, fit all of Gen 1 on the Gen 2 cartridge and stuff like that. And I mean, like the whole like being so kind as a CEO is a big thing for me, especially because I'm so cynical of just like capitalism and in this day and age. Because like you do not see that ever.
Nope.
You do not see Jeff Bezos being like, I do not need all this money. I will do what I can to make sure all my Amazon employees are have livable wages. He that motherfucker is not going to do shit like that. No billionaire these days or big CEO is going to do something like that. So the fact that he did something like that just kind of blew me away. It's like, wow, he was willing to take a cut in his salary to help everyone else. That's commendable because of just how rare it is alone.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that one for me definitely hit me because I remember I was back in the city and I went out. Me and Caesar went out to Nintendo New York for the memorial that they had over there, and I left him my lucky penny. I left my lucky penny on the table there.
I remember you telling me about that. Yeah.
And I wrote a little note in the book too, the memorial book that they had us sign, which was really, it was a sad time. I remember that. That one hit me.
I really like that they went out and did that so that people can go pay their respects. That was really sweet of them.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I don't know if I have any other big celebrity deaths that really hit me too hard, honestly. So I think I'm out personally, unless you guys have more.
At the moment, I'm good too.
Trying to think. I don't. If I think of any, we'll just definitely do the topic
This
again in the future.
this guy cries to everything. I guess it's like, oh man.
I guess we didn't mention it, but Stanley when.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Right.
That one really sucked.
Yeah, that one did suck because he was a really like kind person and all that, but you could tell he was on his last days by the end. I mean, the man was very old at that point, but I mean, hopefully he rests in peace. It's a shame that a lot of his properties are basically being milked to hell and back for profits by Disney.
There's nothing he can do about it now. Yeah.
It sucks too because because of dumb copyright laws that Disney happened. No, I'm not done.
No,
Spider-Man could have entered the public domain like a while back, but because of dumb copyright laws by companies like Disney, that's not gonna happen now. It's like, oh man, who owns them? It's like, truth be told, the real owners is the creators, Stan Lee and all that. I don't believe Disney or Sony deserve or own them truly, but obviously we don't really live in an ideal world. So that's how it is.
Yeah.
So what were you trying to interrupt me with?
Steven Hillenburg.
Oh, Steven Hillenburg.
Oh
yes.
God, yeah.
That came out of nowhere.
That one I was pretty upset about because I mean it's SpongeBob. It's one of the best cartoons of all time.
And we talked about how like I
thought about this modern day Mickey Mouse.
And we talked about how like I just thought about it just now because you were talking about profit and corporations taking other people's ideas, and we're seeing that play out in real time because Nickelodeon is doing that to SpongeBob right now, and we're all like really upset about that one. Especially.
Oh yeah, you could tell that Nickelodeon did not give a shit once he died. Their thoughts were, "Oh my God, he's finally dead. Now we can do all this shit that he would have never approved of." Like all these prequels and spin-offs that he would never have wanted.
Yeah.
And which contradict established canon in the series. And I know it's not a continuity heavy show, but I mean those episodes still fucking happened, so
yeah, Steven Hillenburg. Yeah, he was a genius, basically. I mean, he made one of the biggest pop culture icons of our generation, and he's still a huge icon. Up there with like Shrek and others.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's real. I mean, yeah, I'm good. I don't think of it. I'm not thinking of it.
I'm just waiting for this guy to pull out a huge list. And I'm like, do you just get sad at every celebrity death?
Somewhat.
I mean, it's not. So when Rupert Murdoch happens, you'll be the first one at his funeral. Like,
fuck that guy. I will piss on his grave, man.
Oh yeah, but man, so
for any law enforcement officer that's listening to that, I'm not serious. Please don't come and get me.
I didn't say nothing. He is a bad person though. He deserves it. But but yeah, I mean, I guess to go back to the original topic, it's kind of winding down anyway. But the whole nostalgia thing. I mean, I'll just wrap it up with this. Really, like. For me, like I started it because of the whole thing with nostalgia critic Doug Walker, and it was a big moment of me going, wow, how did I watch so much of this as a teen and all that? And it brings a weird feeling, because you stop watching someone like that, but you stop watching them with positive memories lingering in your head of them. Like you stop watching them with but you still had a positive outlook of them in your head, and you want those memories to stay positive because you want to hold on to like the things that used to make you happy when you were young. I mean, that's nostalgia in a nutshell. But I mean, it comes times like, like my experience with Nostalgia Critic, or like Lawrence's experience with Matt Pat. There are times where you just kind of have to sit down and admit that it's okay to just move on and just leave things in the past, which is where things like the Nostalgia Critic kind of belong, honestly. And that's what he is. He's stuff like that is a relic of the past, and in a way, I think they should just stay in the past.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I absolutely agree.
it's a shame, but I mean, like, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't. If this is the way that they're gonna have to be now, then
Sorry for getting all melancholy there, but yeah.
No, I agree. I think, I was especially, I'm thinking about a lot about like these sorts of things. I've been really nostalgic as of late. And I think in kind of the opposite sense, there are certain things that like I'm nostalgic about, and I love that I'm still nostalgic about them. Like every single time I get an opportunity that I have like a new console or something like that, and they, let's say they release like Sonic Adventure on there, I'm gonna download that shit and put that on there because that's something that I loved, and I don't mind bringing from the past and into the future. But if we're talking something like Matt Pat, where I enjoyed it for a long time, and then I'm going back and watching it, I'm just like, and now I'm just like, that is really strange. I don't know why I was into it.
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm pretty sure if I go back and watch Iron Fist, I'm gonna feel that too. That like I'm not.
God.
I know it's more recent, but I mean that's.
You'll just take screenshots of Henwick's feet and you'll move on.
oh my god.
Shoot! I just lost it.
What? Were you about to say something?
I thought of something and I can't remember it now.
Well, I guess while you try and remember it, I'll just say that, like, when it comes to stuff, nostalgic things like that, it does vary. Because, I mean, you have moments like that where you kind of realize that they're relics of the past and they should kind of just stay in the past. Like, you realize it's really not as good as you remember it. But there are some nostalgic things that you move on from, but you're still able to hold some positive feelings towards. Like, for me, to give an example, I remember when I was young, like in high school, I was super into like Achievement Hunter and their Let's Play channel. And Achievement Hunter is obviously in like a subsidiary of Rooster Teeth. And I was fairly into Rooster Teeth as well. Like I watched Red versus Blue, and I listened to some of their podcasts and watched a lot of their shorts and stuff. But I mean, as I grew older, and as some of my favorite members of the groups, like Ray from Achievement Hunter, would leave for completely reasonable reasons, obviously. And as people left and I grew older, I eventually just kind of stopped watching Achievement Hunter and Rooster Teeth altogether, and I don't watch them at all anymore. But like, it's not in the same sense of Nostalgia Critic where I'm like, oh god, that shit is, what the hell was I thinking? Like watching so much of that as a kid. With Achievement Hunter, it's more like I moved on because I grew up and I'm just not really part of the demographic anymore. Like my tastes have kind of changed a bit, and
Yeah.
I also don't have as much free time. But like I still have some positive feelings towards them. Like I still appreciate all the good times, you know, that group of guys and their content gave me. It's not a Doug moment where I'm like, dear Lord, what was wrong with me? It's more of like,
Poor Eric,
it brings some fun.
why?
Yeah, it brings a fuzzy feeling, like thinking back to like those old days when I would rush back home after school. I'd watch the latest Minecraft Let's Play that they uploaded and all that in like 2012.
Yeah.
It's stuff like that. Nostalgia can vary in many ways.
I just thought of one.
Thought of what?
Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
As in, like you look back on it and you're like, oh god,
Yeah.
it's really not that good. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know, like Diary of a Wimpy Kid is not exactly Shakespeare. Like it's a book for very young kids. I was into it and I read up to like the fourth book, I think, but then at that point
You're at like
I grew up
13
and I
or
stopped.
15 now.
What? Oh
They're
yeah,
still
yeah.
making books.
Yeah, they are still. Yeah, that's what you're talking about. Yeah, they are still making books and they're still going. But I mean, that makes sense because I mean, newer kids, like kids of like this current generation, are probably gonna be into it because it's like, oh, look at all the cool little drawings and all that, and it's
Yeah.
kind of funny and all that.
Oh, I
And, I mean,
also
that was us when like the first few books were coming out. It makes sense that they're still going.
Yeah.
I still have my. This is another one, but I still have my Sheldon poster in my room.
God,
But Big Bang Theory kind of sits
Bazinga.
right there. Like,
I fucking hate that show.
I used to love watching just because it was good background fodder, and occasionally I'd be interested in like watching it. Now I'm just like really not all that interested.
I mean, I don't know if I've talked about it before, but my thing with Big Bang Theory is that it felt like the show tries to tout itself as like, you know, a show about nerds. But when I watched like the few episodes I did, I'm like, this is not how nerds act and talk. Like, there's one clip especially that really like gained a lot of traction where one of the characters was just going on a spiel, and in that spiel, like talking about something, they're referencing like every sci-fi thing imaginable. Like they're referencing Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, all that stuff. And then like the guy watching like that TV clip just pauses it and it's like, what the fuck is that? Like, you're literally this isn't nerddom at all. You're just naming and referencing these properties and that's it. That's not how like geek culture is like at all.
They said it.
And that's basically that was always been my problem with Big Bang Theory is that it's very surface level geek culture, if you will.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah, I see what you
agree.
mean.
I think it is
I
one of
know
those
one
shows.
people bring up all the time from the shows like, oh, I'm playing Super Mario 64 on my emulator. Like that
That's how
one.
people talk.
Yeah, like that's literally what the scene was. Like he was on his laptop in the main lobby stairway. It was like, oh, hi, Penny. I'm just playing Super Mario 64 on my emulator.
No one talks like that.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And so that's kind of my thing also. Like I will not even like deny it. I used to be really heavily into that, but now I'm going back. Like, you know, I'm sure the show ended already, and they already have their
Oh, it
like
did, yeah.
Young Sheldon. I just have no interest in watching Young Sheldon. I have no interest in picking up the
I
show.
forgot
again.
Young Sheldon was even a thing.
I have no interest in picking back Young Sheldon. I'm sorry, Young Sheldon. I have no interest in picking up
Young
the
Sheldon,
show
period.
again and filling in whatever I missed. I know I stopped at like season 6 or 7 or like 7 or something like that. I know there aren't a lot of seasons left, but I just don't feel like doing it. Maybe if I'm on an airplane and that is the show that they have on the
And if
Well, you
that
can watch
airplane
it
just
on
happens to be
HBO
up for like
Max.
85 hours, then yeah, I'll watch the rest of the seasons.
The rest of the series.
So yeah, that's the thing. Like, especially when I'm on like on a
85
plane.
hours on a plane.
At that point, they better have like 5 different pilots.
I
Jesus.
always like when when I'm on a plane, I like to watch. I like to try and find a show, especially because movies they're great, but I like to. The reason I like finding the shows is because I feel like shows tend to fill in time better.
I'm actually the opposite. I usually watch a movie if I'm on a plane and I don't feel like playing a game because I always bring my handhelds and all that.
Yeah.
And if I don't feel like playing a game, I usually watch a movie on a plane.
Yeah. And
That's
so
that's actually how I watched a movie
Never-
called Gangster Squad, like in 2014 or whatever. But yeah,
Gangster
Never
Squad.
bored.
yeah, that's the movie. I still remember the title. I don't remember much of it. It was like a film noir, I think. But yeah.
Never board a plane or a Greyhound bus or whatever without like any sort of like handheld electronic to keep you busy, fully charged at that.
Yeah,
Like,
or a
please
book,
just-
go old
or a
fashioned.
book.
Just bring
Like,
a book.
just do not kill yourself with boredom.
Yeah, you're gonna be sitting
Especially
down
if it's a plane that doesn't offer stuff like movies and TV, because there are planes that still don't really offer
Oh, yeah.
that, and it's just like it's just a plane. Like just write it to get to where you need to go.
Anytime you
Folks,
read
please
Spirit,
do your
Airlines,
research.
Yeah,
Just-
Spirit. I
just
had
be
to
ready.
take that when I went to Florida with like family members, and I hated it because there was nothing to do.
Yeah, because you know, obviously it's a cheap flight, right? You pay
Yeah, that's
for
the thing.
for
Like,
your bags,
stuff
but
like
also
JetBlue and all
you're
that will have like
yeah.
TV and movies, but it's obviously going to be a bit more expensive
I
since
prefer JetBlue. It's my favorite my
Yeah,
favorite
that's the
flight,
airline I usually take,
favorite
JetBlue.
airlines. But Spirit, you know, I had to take it once because I was on short and I bought a ticket on short notice, and I had to go from here to Chicago. Sorry, from Boston to Hanover to Chicago. Sorry, Boston to Chicago. And so obviously, you know, the ticket was the cheapest it could be, and but as a result, there was no, you know, there's no screen in your seat. The seats are uncomfortable. The arms are made out of metal. Like you are like screwed. So that is the point where I took out my PS Vita and I started playing Persona. But it was very uncomfortable. But yeah, whenever I board a JetBlue flight, I always, typically they always have Big Bang Theory or they have live satellite TV, which I like.
Oh yeah,
that.
that's true. There are a lot of flights that have live satellite TV as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I just, I'll watch like Big Bang Theory or The Office or something like that because it passes time for me. And if I'm on a plane, I'll still watch it. But just because for me, it fills in time. And that's even when I go on my road trips and stuff like that. I always, pile a bunch of TV shows onto like my iPad or my computer or something like that and just, or anime and just watch it like continuously.
Wait. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, keep going. You have a lot to say, Jesus.
I always like really stop. Like I stop it, after the end of an episode or something like that, because like with the movie, obviously, like especially if I'm really committed to that movie, like I don't want to like pause it. But like if I'm feeling really tired, then I'm just stopping in the middle of like the action. But like for a TV show, like I could just like finish up the one episode and just like sleep take a nap and then come back to it when I'm done or something like that. And that's kind of the reason why I do that. But yeah, what were we saying?
Jesus. Does that count as a Lawrence tangent to take a shot at? I'm not sure. It'll have to be up to the viewers.
We are talking about nostalgic things we were into, so I'm talking about.
And you're nostalgic about Spirit Airlines?
No.
Something that still exists.
Like what? It's like, bro, I hate to break it to you, but Spirit isn't gone.
No, I was talking about Big Bang Theory.
Okay.
And
Whatever,
how like
man.
I was
and then you started talking about airplanes and shit.
That was I remember I just
you see how we get to places, ladies and gentlemen.
Like, this is why I distinguished it. It's like occasionally we get off topic. This dude goes on tangents and starts talking about Spirit Airlines out of nowhere.
But am I supposed to put a Spirit Airlines aircraft like in
That's what I'm
thumbnail?
thinking too. I'm like, man, so Ray's gonna have to put an airplane for this segment.
Spirit Airlines.
Oh man. Oh, by the way, I actually
Number 32, favorite airline. Big Bang Theory. Inkling Bros podcast.
Oh man. I actually wanted to ask you though, while you were going on that Spirit Airlines story.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you started playing P3P. Is that when you were fighting the first boss and you're like, let me keep using Augie on these enemies that keep blocking them?
No, this was when I was still grinding on the to get to the first full moon boss.
People,
yo, for a sec, I thought you were about to say,
go ahead.
yo, I'm feeling nostalgic for P3P.
I mean, I kind of am. I love Persona 3. These two obviously know that with how much I've talked about it. I played the shit out of FES and P3P. So I can't wait until Sega inevitably probably ports one of the two to Steam after how good Persona 4 Golden did. But
it'll probably come at some point.
Oh, it'll absolutely.
Yeah.
P4G sold a lot, and Sega's like, man, maybe we should bring more stuff to PC after that. So
maybe we should port these Persona games.
It's like, yes, please port all of them, even the old ones. I love Persona 1, at least gameplay wise, and Persona 2. I think it's boring as fuck to play, but the story and characters are really good in that one. Well, in Innocence Sin, I never played Eternal Punishment, but But yeah, I mean, I wanted to ask that about P3P because I learned like a few weeks ago that apparently Lawrence has never played any other RPG ever So very
Sure.
basic RPG conventions just don't click with him. Because I asked him, it's like, because he told me I had trouble with the first real full moon boss in P3, and I'm like, what? How? It's like 300 health. It is made to be easy. And he's like, I don't know. I couldn't do it. And I started to investigate, like, how did you die to it? It's like, it's literally the first real boss. So I was so confused. And I pointed out this one thing because I found a video of a guy beating it effortlessly. And I'm like, all right, Lawrence, see this video and tell me what you did wrong. And he's like, oh, so I wasted like 4 turns using Augie on those minions that the boss spawns. And I'm like, you spent 4 turns just casting Augie on the enemies that block Augie? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, why did you continue? And he's just like, well, I thought maybe eventually it would start working. And I'm like, bro, once it blocks it the first time, that should be a very clear indication that will not work. Unless it's like a boss fight with like weird gimmicks, I guess. But that's rare in P3. I think P4 is like the first Persona game that has some weird gimmicks like that in the boss fights. So I was just like, what is going on? I was amazed because I gave this guy so many like gameplay tips for the game, but it never came across to tell him about, yeah, when an enemy blocks an element, that means that element will not work on it. So use something else. But with Lawrence, like, keep using Augie. Eventually it'll get through. It's like, oh God.
Eventually. War of attrition.
That first full moon boss is just like, what the fuck is he doing? Like while you were doing that. But yeah.
Yo, Eric,
Lawrence.
how do I beat Glass Joe and Punch Out?
Yeah, seriously, that's what it feels like, right? That's exactly it. It's like, how do I beat this super easy boss that's meant to be easy?
How do I beat Brock?
Eric, how do I press start to play the game? It's on the title screen.
Yeah, hey man, what color do I use?
Yo, you know how to get to the end of Green Hill Zone in Sonic 1?
Oh my God! Yeah, can you beat 1-1 in Super Mario Bros, Eric? It's a bit too hard.
Yo, can you come on over and do it for me?
I still die at that level.
Do you really?
No, I'm kidding.
Sir. Sir.
I could understand dying to that level if you're like 5. You're 22 or whatever it is at this point.
Unless you're trying to do one of those crazy speedrun challenges and you're just like trying to, heedlessly parkour.
Unless you play it blindfolded, then yeah, you'll have an easy time with it.
Yeah, but, I feel you.
All right, well, that's enough of that.
Yeah.
I guess we should go on to one of these other topics because we have a shit ton, and there's no way we're getting to all of them in this one episode. So I guess we're gonna have to move stuff.
Wait. How much time have we spent so far?
Yeah,
we started at 8:17, so we're still under 2 hours, everyone.
Somehow. All right.
All right, next topic. Horror movies we were genuinely scared of. Eric, this is on you.
I mean, yeah, this is another topic idea I have because I literally just randomly asked this to these two in our group chat because I was thinking about horror movies. So I was like, what horror movies scared you guys, both when you were a kid and nowadays? Like, what movies do you find creepy or unsettling or downright scary? And I asked this because I love horror movies and I love watching them, especially with friends. I have some grad school friends that we watch and play games together on Discord over the summer and this semester. And lately we're watching live action Sailor Moon because one of my friends wanted to see that, and I was like, all right, sure, why not? I like Sailor Moon, so I'll see it. But before that, we were watching movies like Snakes on a Plane, which is more of a horror comedy, I guess. We watched The Witch, that horror movie from I think 2015, 16, something like that, and some other stuff. But yeah, I love horror movies and I love watching them. And I went to thinking, it's like, what are some of the first horror movies that genuinely scared me? And it was like, this is kind of funny. This is like a trifecta of like very similar like aspects, because these 3 movies I'm about to name were all made in the 80s. They were all remakes of movies from like the 50s, I think. And they all begin with the. I don't know why. Just those three things. It just like went for all three. Cause so the first one, I'm sure you guys have heard of this. The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic horror movie. Some of the best special effects you'll ever see. It really makes you feel it's it's so unsettling. I don't know if I I don't know if I have to describe the plot, but basically like there's an alien that can like consume you and then impersonate you, so you never know who's truly human and who's truly the alien that's out to get you and all that.
Yeah.
And I'm keeping it as bare bones as that, just in case some people haven't seen that movie, because that movie is fantastic. There's a prequel that came out in like 2011. It's okay. It's like not very good, but like it's not like god awful or anything. Like I don't really like it, but like it's not offensive in any way. It doesn't take away from the original thing too much for me, so I just kind of let it be. And
Yeah.
like I said, it's a remake of like an older, like I think 50s sci-fi movie, and that movie is actually an adaptation of a novella of like the same similar sort of story. But yeah, like The Thing, that movie really creeped me out. Like the special effects in that movie were just like jaw dropping to me, and it freaked me out. And to go along with it, I've not seen the original Thing, by the way. So like the 50s version. I think it's in the 50s. I might be wrong on that, but one day I'll probably watch it to see what it's like. But I mean, the other 80s horror remake that starts with The Fly. I don't know if you
Oh yeah.
guys have
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys have seen the original or the remake for it.
I
But
remember you talking about this stuff.
yeah, so this is one where I actually did see the original, The Fly. It was a 50s sci-fi movie. It was about a guy that makes a teleporter that it's revolutionary for its time. It's like you get in and it teleports you somewhere else, so you could travel across the country in the blink of an eye. Really,
Oh, I know where this is going. I remember
yeah.
this.
And then the fly, during a test run, a fly gets into the machine, and the scientists and the fly sort of merge, and like the guy comes out with the arm and head of a fly, and then the fly
Yeah.
has an arm and head of the scientist human. And this is the original movie I'm talking about, to be specific again. And
Yeah.
it's not all too scary, for me at least, until the very end. And I think I showed these guys the scene that I'm talking about. They find the fly that has the human head and arm, and they find it trapped in a web, tangled in a web, and they see a spider about to eat it, and you just hear the fly screaming like in horror as the spider's closing in, ready to feast on it, with this really squeaky voice going, "Help me! Help me!" like over and over again. And I don't know what it is. It's just the fact that you get these close-ups of the spider and you see it like closing its mouth over it, and you hear that shrill voice. It always, to this day, gives me the shivers.
Yeah, it's giving me
So
I
shivers
can't blame
too.
you.
yeah. Like,
I'm
and
for
I'm not
yeah,
really big. I don't really even have arachnophobia, but yeah, like that scene r- still creeps me out. But
I
that
do.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
just got the shivers just now, but yeah.
yeah. But the remake of The Fly, it's a very good remake. It actually, here's a fun fact. You guys know that famous phrase, "Be afraid, be very
Yeah.
afraid." It
Yes.
comes from this remake.
Oh, really?
This is the remake that created that phrase, that popular phrase that everyone knows about at this point, but no one really remembers where it's from. It's from this The Fly remake. And this remake is actually a bit different. I actually really like this about it. I love remakes that actually go out and do something a bit different, because I don't want just a retread of the original movie. I want something slightly different. I sort of view it the same way I view cover songs, where it's like, I already have the original song, so throw your own spin on, this classic song. Give me something a bit different with your cover of it. It's like Alien Ant Farm's cover of Michael Jackson's Smooth Criminal. Perfect example of a good cover song. But yeah, in the case of the Fly remake, it's different from the 50s version in that instead of like the head and arm like swapping, what happens is that the fly sort of merges with the scientist in the movie, and he slowly starts transforming into like a literal human fly. Like his skin just starts getting really bad, and and by the end of it, he's just this monstrosity of it, and he's I don't want to spoil it. Obviously, I know the movie's like 40s, a little under 40 years old, so it's kind of weird to be like no spoilers. But obviously, not everyone has seen it. But again, just like The Thing, that movie really freaked me out in that this guy is like just a normal scientist that really wanted to like revolutionize things, and
Yeah.
one little mistake just ruins his entire life. Because I mean, he had a lover that he wanted to marry and everything, and by the end of it, he's just this like, because the practical effects in the movie, just like The Thing, are amazing. As you see him slowly like turning monstrous, his mind goes crazy because of like what happened, and by the end of it, he's just as the monster, he's basically begging to be put down and killed, and it tugs at your heartstrings, and it's just disgusting to look at.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just love the hell out of that movie.
Yeah, I feel the same about like there was I was you talked about the Blob, but I remember
Well, that's the
watching
one I was actually gonna mention next. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah, that I remember watching a couple scenes like I'm not generally scared of blobs, right? Like in
Like this
general,
is such a common thing in movies and
it
stuff.
is. I mean, there have been like movies where like
Well, I
it's
mean,
just
but
like
you know what?
slime thing or
Well, but you
like
know what that is? That's a reference to the Blob, like
yeah,
the original. Like they're parroting slash referencing or paying homage to like that original concept.
yeah. Like slime thing or even like any of R.L. Stein's like, slime books.
Monster blood.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I know obviously it's talking about the Blob, but like I remember the remake of the Blob, there was that one scene you were talking about that the sewer scene.
Oh
Oh
God.
my god. But yeah, you
Yeah.
can go ahead
So
and talk about it.
yeah. So I mean, like Lauren said, the third 80s horror remake that starts with the is that freaked me out when I watched it for the first time. And I watched this one, The Blob, back when I was a kid. I think it was playing on like some channel and I just happened to see it. And it really like messed me up to the point where I didn't want to be like I didn't even want to go to the bathroom to like be near like drainage pipes and stuff.
Yeah.
Because the movie it's a remake of like a 50s movie where it's like in the I've not seen the original Blob for this one. It's just like The Thing. I haven't seen the original, but for the remake of it, basically this sort of like meteor lands on Earth, something like that, and in it contains like this weird creature that latches itself onto like this homeless person, and this homeless person is like, I mean, he's clearly being affected by it, and this group of teenagers find the homeless man and they take him to a doctor, and they see that like his his body is just being dissolved, and they're like, what the fuck is going on? And at this point, the Blob is basically just out there trying to uh the Blob basically consumes humans and grows bigger and bigger and bigger as it continues to like engulfs much of the town. And that movie really fucked me up for two big reasons. I guess three technically, because I mean, just like the first two movies I mentioned, it has some really good practical effects. Like again, no, not much CG in this movie. There's a bit like when the Blob is chasing some of the lead uh, characters at certain points, but most of the movie is practical effects. I will say though, the stop motion is not great. Like when the Blob is like rampaging against the town, the stop motion is kind of laughably bad, honestly.
Yeah.
But it's kind of amusing either way. But like with the practical effects of when you see someone like getting devoured by the Blob, that looks incredible. And the big scenes especially that really fucked me up is the beginning when one of the teenagers that found the homeless person is devoured by the Blob. It's basically the Blob's second victim after the homeless person, and it hits you really hard because this character, the movie is very clearly trying to indicate that this character is going to be like the lead. He's like the main guy. He's taking action and all that, and then he's just killed off after like 15 minutes in a pretty fucked up way where you see the Blob like engulfing him and he's like screaming, like reaching out, and it looks like the Blob is basically suffocating him but like dissolving his entire body at the same time, and it looks horrific when you
Yeah.
watch the scene. It's on YouTube if anyone wants to check it out. But the other scene that really fucked me up, and there's a few other like pretty dire moments. There's one where like a waitress is trying to call the police in a telephone box, and then the Blob is like covering the telephone box, and it's obviously very it's a fucked up situation because I mean she's dead. There's nothing she can do because the blob is about to pour in and just dissolve her. And there's one where like I think someone at the diner, his head goes through like the sewage pipe because the blob is like in the sewers at one point, and just like it like grabs this dude's head and brings its head through like the sink hole, like in the sink drainage,
yeah.
and he's just like dissolving the body like that, like dragging it through the sink, and that's really
Yeah.
fucked up. But the big
God.
thing, and the one that Lawrence mentioned, is there's at one point where one of the main characters saves her brother, her little brother, and like the little brother's friend, because the big scene, one of the big scenes in the movie is when the blob attacks a movie theater filled with people. It's basically a recreation of the original Blob, because that was one of the biggest scenes from the original Blob movie, and they escape into the sewers and all that. And at this point, the blob is coming, and a part of me is thinking when I'm watching this as a kid, I'm like, I mean, surely none of them are gonna die, because I mean, there's two kids, and kids don't really die in horror movies much. And then there's the main character, well, one of the last two remaining characters from the beginning. So I'm like, no one's gonna die, right? And I was so wrong, because in this scene, the little brother's best friend is grabbed by the blob, and at that point the girl that's the one of the main characters from the movie, she tries to find him in the water as he's dragged down, and then the best friend's the little brother's best friend comes up, and you see his like carcass like dissolving in front of you, and then he's pulled back down again. And that really fucked me up, because I was like, holy shit, they literally just flat out killed a kid in this horror movie. And at that point, I
Yeah.
had never really seen that before. So that especially messed me up, and that's
Yeah.
why I was like, I don't want to be near near sewers or drainage pipes or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely feel you. And especially with the blob, I mean, I've seen most of it. I don't want to go back and watch it. Yeah, and the thing is like I said before, I'm never really scared of like blobs. And when I saw that scene, I was just like, holy shit, man.
Yeah, like the
that's
50s movie
crazy,
is
bro.
the 50s movies is the 50s movie, like the original, is kind of like a B movie, but then the remake it's kind of gory and like pretty messed up. Like it's a lot darker than the original.
Yeah. I think, for me especially, it's like what triggers for a horror movie to be like extremely terrifying is realism, I think.
Like
You know,
how like
picturing
okay,
that happening in real
in
life.
real life. Oh, so
You
like
know,
a horror movie that you could see happening, like actually
yeah,
happening.
and like even though like it still involves a little bit of the supernatural, right? Obviously. But like some, I talk about this all the time, but like I had for most of my life, still even right now, like Nightmare on Elm Street,
Well,
still
that one, I mean,
bugs
that
the
one
fuck
I
out
don't
of me.
think is very realistic, but I do agree that movie is great, the original, and
Yeah,
it did scare me when I was young when I first saw it.
it's realistic in terms of like you don't really know, it's ambiguous that this could happen to you in your dreams, right? That's what I mean. Like everyone dreams, right? And you could dream about Freddy Krueger if you wanted. But the point that scares you is if you start dreaming about him, are you going to come out alive?
Well, I
And
think
that's the part that scares me, and it's why I try my best. Like every time I feel myself that I'm about to like jump into that kind of dream, I just like wake myself up because I don't even want to try it.
Well, I think for me, the reason why that movie is so effective and why it does creep me out, the original Nightmare on Elm Street, is that everyone dreams, obviously, and everyone has nightmares occasionally.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess not everyone. There are some people that are just like, I don't dream at all. It's just like blackness when I sleep. And
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I in a way, I almost envy them, because some nightmares can be pretty like horrific and all that. But the thing that really creeped me out about that movie is that everyone has, or a lot of people have nightmares where they're like being chased, or like they're falling, they're about to like hit the ground and obviously die and all that, but they usually wake up at that point.
Yeah.
And then this movie is basically like, what if you actually just plain die, like in those nightmares? And that's what really like messed me up.
Yeah, for me, it was just the fact that like encountering him in your dreams, that was terrifying. And for me, I'm not, in a weird way, I'm not scared of dying in my dreams, right? Because I'm kind of that belief that like, that's usually how it is. I'm more scared of the presence, right? That fear of the ambiguity. And Vsauce does a really good video about like
Hey, Michael, Vsauce here.
about like
That's
ambiguity.
all I know about Vsauce, but yeah.
It's from like 3 years ago, but I remember I watched this video and I was like, because he talks a lot about like creepypastas and stuff like that, and that video fucked me up too. But he talks about like the reason that we get scared of these things is because of the fear of fear of ambiguity, right? Like we don't know.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like sure, we all know Freddy Krueger isn't real, but it's that like tiny percentage that like if I go to sleep and have a dream, am I gonna of him? Am I gonna come back alive? And you don't know. Sure, it's a fictional character, but I'd like to remind the audience that there was actually a movie made by Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Oh, right. That's when they go all meta.
They become meta, right? Because of the glove. Now the glove is actually.
It's like, oh, now it's real.
Yeah, and that movie also fucked me up. Like I watched it, it wasn't all that bad, but the fact is that it became meta, and that's what scared me. It's not like, and that's also my thing about if we're talking about which one's scarier, right? If I had to say which one is right in front of me and I'd be horrified, I would absolutely be more scared if Jason were right in front of me, from Friday the 13th, right? Because that's an instant death. You're gonna die, like, period.
It's like, yeah, machete through your head, probably gonna die.
Yeah, like, Freddy, he has a weakness, and that weakness. Obviously, Jason's weakness is water, but let's say you're not in a place where there's water, you're fucked. You're dead. Like
Squirtle, use water gun.
With Freddy, you're the weakness.
Water.
The weakness for Freddy is to not be scared. It weakens him.
That's basically it.
Just like with Pennywise, you have to conquer your fears, and you beat them, right? And so eventually, like if you have the courage, you're gonna get over it, and it's just that feeling of like, oh man, this might happen. And so yeah, if you ask me, I'd be more scared of Jason, strength and like haunting me, but I would be more scared of Freddy in the way of like, man, I don't know, can he really kill me in my sleep?
I think,
yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think that's valid. For me, I actually, in some ways, I am also the same. Where it's like something that is very plausible and creepy will probably scare me a bit. Because I mean, I'll add on to what you said earlier. I'd say the first 2 Halloween movies, scared me when I first saw them. Because I mean, that could easily happen. It's literally just a serial killer going around like killing teens and stuff on Halloween. And all that.
But he has an agenda.
Like he has an agenda and all that. And at the time, you also, the reason why I love the first 2 Halloween movies, and I'm not really a fan of the Rob Zombie remakes, is that the remakes try to give him this like Michael Myers, like the serial killer in the movie. They try to give him this like weird sort of like backstory. Like they try to make him almost look tragic, and I'm like, I don't really like that. I actually like that you really just don't know who the hell this guy is and all that. It makes the plausibility and the fear and the creepiness of it work better for me. Like the fact that it's just some guy just going out there, like, breaking out of like his containment or whatever, and just going on a killing spree. I like that he had no backstory in the originals. I think that added to the fear of it.
Right. And I hear you too, like especially like the thing about Michael Myers, he doesn't, like, the movies are scary, but just like in the same vein as Jason, I don't get scared by him because I don't I'll enjoy, and I'll sit down and enjoy the movies because I don't really think he's gonna come and get me, right? And the same thing with Jason.
And then he points to the screen, is like, Lawrence, I'm coming for you.
And see, that's that he had an agenda, right? He was fighting against Jamie Lee Curtis's character, right?
Yeah.
And every single episode he comes back for either that same family or for her. And in the recent movie he comes back for her again.
Yeah,
right?
like the
And
most
so-
recent one that ignores even Halloween 2. It's like a direct sequel to the first one.
Yeah, and
Which
so
I find weird because Halloween 2 is a perfectly good movie. I'm like, I don't feel like, I don't know why you need to ignore it, but okay.
I never watched the recent one yet, but I will eventually.
Me, Ray, and Isaac did.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I sounded really salty. I'm sorry. I'm not salty.
I'll remember.
remember.
It's like a telltale game in the corner. Lawrence will remember that. These motherfuckers didn't take me with them.
I don't even remember what I was doing that day.
Yeah, that Halloween screening though was pretty fun.
Yeah, Isaac made me start laughing, and I hated him for it because there was one scene in that recent Halloween movie.
That's always the best part about going to these like scary movies with your friends. Like you just always like have a fun time just having funny ass commentary with it.
Because I mean,
Yeah.
well, I like just sitting down and watching the movie, but occasionally like
It balances out the fear factor.
But
Yeah,
occasionally,
I
like
agree.
Isaac would make some comments that would try to make us laugh, and one of them legitimately made me laugh. It was one point where it's just a shot of Michael Myers walking down the sidewalk, and then Isaac goes, "Yo, where's my fucking Uber driver?" And I was like, "All right, that got me. That made me start laughing."
Oh my god!
It's like, damn. But,
It's so funny.
oh man, I don't mind
yeah.
talking over movies, especially when it's like on Discord. But in movie theaters, I know some people aren't like that, which is why I try to be as quiet as possible. But yeah, I did laugh at that one thing he said. I still remember it to this day. That movie isn't so bad, by the way. I think I still prefer the original Halloween 2, to be real. But I mean, it's way better than like the Rob Zombie remakes. It's way better than a lot of the movies that came out after Halloween 3. Because if you remember, Halloween 3 had nothing to do with Michael Myers, and the reason they made that movie the way it is now is because they initially wanted Halloween to be an anthology series. So like the first two movies dealt with Michael Myers, but then after that, it would just be a different story each time. Which is why Halloween 3 deals with like those masks that like just destroy kids' heads and stuff like that. That movie itself is also kind of creepy. I especially like that the good guy, if you will, he's able to get because the story, to so to speak, in that movie is like there's a commercial that like if a kid watches it while wearing like the Halloween masks from this company, when they watch the commercial, it sort of triggers something in that mask that like melts their brain and their head and stuff. And the good guy, so to speak,
Plankton.
And the good guy, so to speak, in that movie, he's able to get like all the commercials pulled except for one and all that, and it's kind of creepy and all that. And I actually dig that movie a lot. I think Halloween 3 was cool, but sadly, a lot of people at the time were very angry. Were very angry that it didn't have anything to do with Michael Myers, which is why after that movie, it was all about Michael Myers. And I feel like Halloween kind of suffered. I feel like it kind of suffered because of that. Because yeah, those movies after Halloween 3 are not great.
Yeah. Well, so I think, that timing, the timing of that era, right? With like horror movies, all the horror movies had a mascot, right? And so obviously I think that's probably the reason why people got mad at it.
I guess they people saw it similarly to like Friday the 13th
or Nightmare on Elm Street or
the funny thing with Nightmare on the funny thing with Friday the 13th is that a lot of people forget this. The first movie
wasn't even Jason.
It was Jason's mom. And then in the second movie, he doesn't even have the mask. Like the hockey mask, the famous hockey mask. He gets it in the third movie.
Right?
Yeah. He gets the hockey mask in the third movie, I think, from what I remember. So it's kind of funny. A lot of people kind of forget that those little fun facts, if you will, of Friday the 13th. But
also, Freddy in the first movie wasn't even like really like he didn't take it the form that we know him now. I even remember like he looked different in the first one or two movies. You can see it in like if you look up the Nightmare on Elm Street for the first movie, but he doesn't look the same that he does later. And even that's like he looks obviously different in the remake that they did. recent.
Well, that's not recent. That's like
Yeah.
from 2010 at this point.
Oh my
That's like a
god,
decade ago. But
that feels so weird. But anyways,
but
that goes back.
I don't know about that, like the whole Freddy looks different thing, because admittedly I haven't seen the movies in a while. I do know though that the first movie actually did play it fairly straight, but then as the series went on, Freddy Krueger kind of became a bit more jokey and more comedic.
Yeah,
I mean, for
that
God's
was,
sakes, there's one point where you see him playing on NES Advantage for the Nintendo
yeah,
Entertainment System. Like it started getting very comedic at one point. Which, fun fact,
yeah,
actually, Peter Jackson of like Lord of the Rings and King Kong and Hobbit fame, if you will, at one point he was gonna make a Nightmare on Elm Street movie that dealt with this like little, I guess, event, if you will, of like his script that I've always wanted to read. I'm not sure if it's on the internet, but his script for a Nightmare on Elm Street movie was like Freddy is annoyed that his image is seen as like a laughing
oh
stock
right,
at
yeah,
this point. Like it got to a point where he became such a jokey character that people would purposefully like go to sleep, like it's like they can't wait to go to sleep to see him and laugh at him because he's
yeah,
such a joke at this point. And Freddy's like so pissed off at that this is his image now that he's like, fuck it, I'm going back to like my original like rendition where I am just scary and I'm just gonna actually kill you and all that. And he starts
yeah,
like killing these people just laughing at him. And when I heard that I was like, that sounds awesome. Actually, I
yeah.
would have loved to have seen that. But
I would have
yeah.
liked to seen that too, especially
Stop laughing at me, you fool!
Literally.
after the Wes Craven shit. I would have loved to see that, honestly. Like that was great. Again, I do want to mention I did watch most of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Doesn't mean I like them, but I did. Or rather, they were good. I didn't like them because I was scared of it, but yeah, they're good movies. Just like Child's Play. I mean, Child's Play kind of went down the drain a little bit.
Oh god. So Child's
Which,
Play
by
is
the way,
actually
is still going. The original is still going, by the way.
Oh god. I mean, I guess we should talk a bit about Child's Play, cuz so this is another movie that actually did scare me at first, like the
Yeah,
first 3
me too.
Child's Play movies. They
Mhm.
scared me because, and even to this day, I when I was a kid, I found dolls creepy. Like just in general, I found dolls really weird and creepy. And to this day, I still kind of find them like kind of weird and creepy. And as a kid, Child's Play really scared me because it's like it's a doll and it's moving and all that, and it's going around killing people and everything. Nowadays, those movies aren't really all that scary at all to me. They're more funny because Chucky makes these weird quips
Yeah.
when he's like killing people. It's like I remember in the first movie, he's like in an elevator. Like he's just posing as a regular doll, and there's like an old couple in the elevator, and as they walk out, like the old woman like looks at it and she just goes, ugly doll, and like she leaves and all that, and then like the elevator door closes and the elevator keeps rising, and then you just hear Chucky go, fuck you. And stuff like that. It makes me laugh more than anything. But
Yeah. I was, and that's the thing. Like as a kid, I used to be so terrified of Chucky. But then,
oh
like,
yeah, me too.
I was watching Dead Meat, which is, by the way, it's a YouTube channel that they talk about the number of deaths and stuff like that in
Oh yeah,
horror
in
movies.
movies. Yep.
So really,
The
really
kill
cool.
kill.
Yeah,
And
basically.
so I watched all the Chucky ones, and I was just like, wow, what the hell? Like these movies were scary.
I
And
mean, it's
like,
because you were a kid.
yeah,
I mean,
as a kid, and also my mom has this doll. Okay,
you
when I
know.
was so this is where my fear of the Chucky movies came from. When I was a kid, my mom had this doll that would sit right behind me, and it was like it. I mean, it was like, for all intents and purposes, it was like a lifelike doll, and it would sit
I
in
see.
my
Those are the dolls I hate the most.
yeah. It would sit in the corner of my room and just sit there. And the thing is, it's like, obviously, when it's sleeping, the eyes would close, and like it would, and then when it's in like upright position, the eyes are open. And I would be terrified at this doll. And then I watched Child's Play and I saw that it was coming to life, and I'm like, oh hell no.
So you thought your doll was gonna kill you?
Yeah. And or just like make some quips or some shit like that, and come to life. I mean, that shit's
God,
scary in
that's
and of
funny.
itself.
That's funny you mentioned that because I actually have a similar story.
Yeah.
In DR, one of the places I usually stay at is one of my aunt's places. That's like one of the like 2 or 3 places I would sleep over when I'm like vacationing in DR and visiting family. And I remember, I don't think she has it anymore, but back then she used to have this like Raggedy Ann doll,
Oh,
and I don't know why. It like creeped me out because it would always just sit there like in her bedroom, like on a chair, and I would be in that bedroom often
Menacingly?
because yes, sitting there menacing. But I would be in that bedroom often because I think they only had like 2 TVs at the time, like back then, one in the living room and one in like the my aunt's bedroom. And I would go there to like watch my cartoons in Spanish and stuff like that. But while I was over there, I would have to constantly look back because I'm like, did the doll
yeah.
move? Did the doll move? Did the doll move? Like it just creeped me out. Like it got to a point where I didn't want to sleep in the same room as that thing. Like
Yep.
I made sure to sleep in another room whenever I would visit my aunt while I was in DR.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. And going back and it's
I
kind
love
of
that you
like
say absolutely agree, as if it's like, yes, Eric, I agree. You are a pussy for doing this.
no, I I agree in that I had the same exact experience with that doll, and then just one day I had enough, and I told my mom, "Please take that shit out of my room, please."
I
And
don't know
she
what
did.
happened to my aunt's doll. I think she just got rid of it eventually, or maybe she gave it away to someone.
Mine is still in my house. It is in the living room now, and so in the middle of the night when I want to go into the living room because that's where some of the snacks are. What the fuck was that?
It's the doll. It's coming for you, man.
Yo, what the fuck?
The
um,
doll heard you. He's like, this motherfucker's the reason I'm in the living room now.
It's
um,
terror time again.
Again.
and so I sometimes go into the living room to grab stuff like some snacks or something like that when I'm doing work in the middle of the night, and I come back and I just have to like shine the flashlight in that direction, just like, you still there, right? you stay in that one place, right?
I can't wait for one. I hope somehow your parents play a trick on you one day and they move it somewhere. So it's like, you're still there, right? It's not
I
there.
they
Like you just
they
stop talking and you're like, oh shit.
I used to be, and there was also there's like a crocheted portrait of me in the living room. If you guys have seen it, and I told the story many times, but I used to have nightmares about that painting. I know it's like it's me, right? But if you see what this thing looks like, it literally looks like the Scream, right? Like the portrait, the Scream.
Oh, like that famous painting, The Scream?
Yeah, and like my lips are red, but like you can't tell that there's a lip there because it's just all red. It's like a circle, and my eyes are black, and like I'll send a
What
picture.
the
You guys can
fuck?
on.
I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie, I forgot what it looks like. I'm sure I've seen it, but I forgot what it looks like. So
I'll
yeah,
send you
send me
guys
the
a picture
picture.
after the podcast. But I've gotten over my fear of that thing. I know it's me, obviously. But it's still kind of scary to think about, because it like as a kid, again, I was scared of inanimate objects that I thought were going to come to life. Um, and so that was just kind of weird for me. But another big fear for me was, I used to go to the movie theaters as a kid a lot to go watch like, kids movies. And I would always walk into the movie theater this one year. I think it was 2004, 2005. And on the left hand, this is around the same time Shark Boy and Lava Girl came out.
Oh man.
That's how I remember it. And on the left side, there was a poster for The Ring, the sequel.
Oh. Oh, The Ring
Um,
2. Okay.
yeah, and in
The Ring
the
2.
and on the poster is obviously Samara, the girl. For those that don't know, is the name of the girl on the tape in the well.
Yeah.
Um, and I would see that thing is, obviously on the poster, it's just her sitting on the chair in the well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm just like, yo, that shit is As a kid, I'm like, yo, that shit's terrifying. I'm still scared of that shit now.
That
Like,
is such a big thing with like Japanese movies because I mean if it wasn't obvious, The Ring is an American remake
yeah,
of a Japanese movie, Ringu.
yeah,
And that's such a big thing in like a lot of
Grudge.
Japanese horror stuff, like Grudge-like characters, like that, like pale white girl with long dark hair covering her face. They
Yep.
just love that. They
They
love
love
it.
that shit, and it's actually terrifying. They actually had The Grudge, right? The Grudge movie, which came out. Also, I was terrified.
Yeah,
of
that was another American remake. Yep.
The Ring, I was terrified of that. I watched Shudder, which also is a Japanese it is a Japanese based movie.
If it ain't obvious, America loves remaking stuff.
I watched Shudder. The name of the girl in that one, her name was Megumi.
That's a normal Japanese name, to be fair.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Shudder.
I have not seen Shudder.
No.
I'll send the Wikipedia article. But so it was extremely like terrifying to me. So pretty much the way that movie went is that like you know, there was this special camera that was haunted by like the spirit of like this guy's dead wife.
Dude, it's like Say Cheese and Die from Goosebumps.
Pretty much. And so every time they took a picture, him and his current wife took a picture, there would always be like a ghost-like rendition somewhere in the photo. And so they would use it was just haunting them this entire time. And eventually at the end, the guy, I think he either commits suicide or something like that, because he just couldn't bear the thought, like his wife left him and everything, because he was going crazy that he kept seeing his ex-wife in the pictures, and she was haunting him forever. And so it was just like, it was horrifying, honestly. Like I remember I couldn't sleep after watching that movie.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you brought that up, because I did want to mention that there's a lot of really good Asian horror, like in general, like not even just from Japan. I want to give a shout out to a South Korean movie, Tale of Two Sisters. That movie messed me up when I was a kid. Like it legitimately like disturbed me and everything. And you know, and there's plenty of other like Asian horror too. We mentioned like Ringu and The Grudge, and I'm talking about the originals there. Although,
Yeah.
at least when it comes to the American remake of The Ring, or at least the first one, I didn't think that was too bad. I was like, as far as American remakes go, that actually wasn't too bad compared to a lot of others. But yeah, there's a lot of good Asian horror. I mean, you know what it is? South Korea, Japan, they make a lot of good movies. So
yeah. There was also a point in time where, because I was obviously scared of The Grudge and The Ring, you know, Scary Movie 3 and 4, would they reference those Grudge
So
girls?
did you take the title literally? You're like, oh god, that's a scary movie.
No,
I
used to love watching the Scary Movie films because it was like comedic relief, you know, from all the horror movies that I was seeing. But in Scary Movie 3 at the end, they take the plot of The Ring, they make fun of it, and I still got scared at that thing, because obviously it's still a Grudge girl that I'm still, you know, the
You're
fact
still
that
looking at.
yeah, it's still terrifying to look at. And in the fourth one, it wasn't really as bad, but like the Grudge girl is still there. And you know, obviously it's like making those funny like Japanese. You think that she's speaking Japanese, but she's really just saying Sony, Toyota, Mitsubishi,
God,
whatever.
that is so.
It's
was borderline racist.
It's so bad. But I mean, the fact is, again, I'm still looking at a Grudge girl.
It's both racism and also they're getting their budget from shameless plugging these car companies.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I don't know if I would. All right, I haven't seen it in a million years, but I still kind of like the first Scary Movie. The rest,
they're still good.
No, I would not say that.
No, the first one I'm talking about.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I think the first one is decent as far as like parody movies go.
Yeah.
But God, the sequels are awful, especially like some of the later ones, like Scary Movie 5. That movie is just atrocious.
I didn't even see 5.
That movie is just god awful, and it came out at a time where it felt like there were a million bad parody movies, because there was Scary Movie 5. Well, no, that was years ago. I'm talking parody movies that came out in the same year, because I think in the same year that Scary Movie 5 came out Haunted House by like Marlon Wayans, Marlon Wayans movie Haunted House. There was also Movie 43, a really, really bad parody movie. And then there was also one Inappropriate Comedy. And I'm like, God damn, how many parody movies are going to come out this year? For whatever reason, there was just a million.
I remember within a span of like 3 or 4 years, there were so many came out. Epic movie, which I remember watching with my parents.
Superhero movie.
Superhero movie with Drake Bell in it.
I like that we remember Drake Bell's in it.
I mean, that's how
it because
most Nick kids remember that movie. It's like, oh,
I remembered it because it was the first PG-13 movie, and it was also a raunchier movie that Drake Bell was in. I was like, holy shit, you know. I mean, disaster movie. I mean,
so many of those movies are so bad.
They are like, the thing is, you enjoy them just because
Meet
it's just
like,
oh yeah, it's fun. Oh my god, especially that.
Let's take 300.
Like how we all remembered it.
Let's take 300, but make all the characters gay. Hilarious, isn't it? It's like, oh my god.
It's, you know, as kids, we're like, yo, that shit looks funny.
I mean, now, when I'm like,
don't make fun of it.
Now I'm looking back and I'm like, shit. Oh, that's another thing. Nostalgic things that I used to like as a kid.
Alright, I didn't say that because I was never nostalgic over them, but okay. Apparently this guy treasured Meet the Spartans.
You know what it is? I treasured those movies because they were some of the first PG-13 movies I was allowed to see. That's the reason why.
You know what was the first PG-13 movie I saw? Porn. as in above PG-13.
Yeah,
I was gonna say you shouldn't be like porn shouldn't be accessible to 13-year-olds.
But yeah, no, exactly.
This motherfucker's like nostalgic things that aren't as good as I'm not nostalgic over Meet the Spartans.
Yo, guys, remember Meet the Spartans? How great it was.
No.
Going back to
we go to the last blockbuster on Earth, and then Lawrence friends Meet the Spartans from there.
He goes in there and asks for Meet the Spartans, and then we end up banned from the last blockbuster.
Ray, do not tempt me. You know I will do it.
Is that what we're gonna look for when we go to book off?
No, God, no. We'll look for like the SpongeBob movie or something.
But yeah, going back to horror movies, so yeah, those Grudge Girls, I absolutely hated them. I didn't like seeing them because I thought they're scary. I don't know what's so scary about them. It's just the fact that they stand there and
it's just creepy imagery, really. Because it's like they typically don't show their face because it's like the long black raggedy hair is blocking their face. So it's like, oh god,
fear of the ambiguity.
And they're pale as sin. Like they're so pale. They're like they make albinos blush with how pale they are.
Yeah, and the fact is, like, sometimes they just stand there. And that was also another reason why, yeah, sure, I'm not a big fan of like live video, like found footage horror movies. But some of them, like Paranormal Activity, they played on that same exact like trend of like a ghost girl or some shit like coming to haunt you. Especially the first Paranormal Activity. I remember watching that and I got so terrified. I was so scared because this was around the same time.
Paranormal Activity?
Yeah. And it's, you know, especially that we were talking about realism earlier, and a lot of the found footage films, like some of them are funny.
You found that movie realistic?
Well, because it's like, it is almost pseudo realistic, right? It is like people.
Bro, I'm gonna blow your mind right now. You know that message that movie, so many other found footage movies had, where they're like, this is real footage that we found.
I know it's not real.
It's not real, bro.
I know.
They didn't actually find a camera with all this footage.
No, I absolutely.
Stupid. Yeah, they found all these sequels.
I hate it when movies do based on true events. We found this person is still missing.
It was funny because of like they did that with Cloverfield. And I was just like, nah, come on. New York is still intact. Stop it.
Okay, I don't remember them saying this is a true story for Cloverfield. I think you might be mistaken there. But they absolutely said that for shit like Paranormal Activity. Lawrence, are you fucking kidding me?
No.
Remember when fucking Kaiju came to New York and destroyed us?
Lawrence, just because Cloverfield... No. Just because Cloverfield was found footage does not mean that they had the whole based on a real event in the movie. That's not true.
No,
not every found footage movie had that. Did you expect like a bonus feature on that DVD where they sit down with the monsters like, yeah, so my dad abused me and that's why I went on a rampage in New York. It's like,
No, I was okay.
monster smoking a cigar on the set.
So I just brought it up just because I was just making fun of the whole found footage genre. I was not saying that like Cloverfield actually was real found footage. I'm saying that it like
You're saying it became a trend for a while.
Yeah, and on the topic of horror movies, like something like Paranormal Activity, I know they're not real, but it was that realism. Just like how I know like Child's Play isn't real, like dolls are not going to come to life and kill me, or like even Nightmare on Elm Street, I know Freddy's not going to come, actually is not real and will not come and kill me, but it's just the realism, the fact that what if? It's the what if, and I've always talked about like the all of our fears go back to either the fear of the ambiguous or the fear of the
unknown,
or the fear of something being like you and I talked about this before. The reason that like people fear spiders is because they're ugly. It is because they're
some spider lovers out there are gonna come after you for saying that.
well, because like for
I mean,
a lot of people
are scared because they crawl around. They have 8 legs, 8 eyes.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, it's not
everything. Not everything
it's
has
not
8 legs.
Conventionally beautiful and pretty.
Correct.
I'll say that
exactly, and that's the reason people fear them, because they're kind of ambiguous compared to like what people's vision of normal, quote unquote, is. A cat, 4 legs, that's it. But like you see a spider has 8 legs, or a centipede has 100 legs, or a millipede 1,000 legs, right? You get scared because it's not conventional. It's not something that we can foresee as normal.
And that's how you see Paranormal Activity?
It's not, well, I was talking about the fear of the ambiguous with Paranormal Activity, right? Is that like, sure, we know it's produced, it's just mass produced like crap that people will digest because they're like, oh shit, this is the scariest movie in forever. No, but like the whole point,
scariest movie in America.
Is that, and I think the marketing absolutely works, is that just like, yeah, sure, it could absolutely be real. Like we also see these shows, like these ghost story shows, like on Discovery and stuff like that, where they go and they explore haunted places and they hear a thud or something. They're like, "What the fuck was that?" And they're like, and
it is at this moment.
and you feel that fear. It's that fear of like, shit, that could actually happen.
That fear of shit, yeah. All right, look, I'm just gonna stop you right here. I never found those Paranormal Activity movies scary at all. They're boring. Are you like you keep talking?
Dude, remember when you made a fucking spinoff in Mexico?
Okay,
yeah.
no, okay, hold on. It was only the first one. I didn't watch it after that one, and not because
even
I was scared
first
of it,
one.
But it was because of it was around the same time where I was still trying to like get over my fear of like the Grudge Girls and stuff like that, and that's
it didn't have what? Well, what does that have to do with anything? There's no Grudge Girls in that.
No, it's just the fear of like that, a figure, a something, being there.
There's nothing there. You don't see anything.
No,
there's no ghost.
As in, like, there is a ghost. That's what I'm saying. Like, there is someone there. Like, I'll be honest. There are times when, like, I don't really think that I'm scared of like ghosts in general. I'm just scared of like certain kinds of ghosts. The ones that sit there or stand there and do nothing and just stare at you. It's that fear of like, is something there or not?
All
and
right,
that was the fear. But after that, I mean, like, I never went back and said, yeah, I'm actually scared of those movies. Like, even like when I watched something like Saw, I never I didn't find Saw scary at all. I didn't find many of the Final Destination films scary at all either. And
I mean, those are more, I guess, thrillers. I guess they're like gory thrillers, really.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah, and I never found they advertise them as horror movies. I never found them scary personally.
I mean, well, I liked Final Destination 1 and 2, and I remember liking 5 as well. I didn't really like 3 and 4. all that much. But I like those movies. Those are fun little movies to watch. And when it comes to Saw, I think I remember liking like the first one okay, but I kind of stopped liking them very quickly because the stories were starting to get a little weird to me. And I didn't like that they weren't consistent with like the rules. Because I remember in the first Saw movie, they were like basically like for a while in the Saw movies at least, they were like the people that were captured and put in these like traps are not very good people. It's like pedophiles and shit like that. And so it's like, okay,
Oh yeah.
like
Then they started changing shit.
but then they started changing it where they're putting anyone in there. It's like your cousin who accidentally littered and left that Snickers wrapper on the ground. He's in my trap now, and I'm like, bro, what the fuck? Like, this is a bit high escalation. It's like your cousin, just because he's related to you, he's in here now. It's like, what the hell? Like, these are normal people, and it really came to a point where in the last movie, it kind of it didn't scare me, but I felt kind of like disgusted that like in the last movie there's like a guy who lies and said, "Oh, I survived a saw trap and all that." And of course, he gets put into a real one along with people associated with him, and one of the people associated with him is his wife. And his wife is in one of the traps, and spoiler alert, he isn't able to save her, and she ends up getting burned alive in like a big oven. And it kind of messed me up because it's like she was innocent. Like she didn't know he was lying. Like he was lying to everyone. So like what the fuck? She didn't deserve that at all. Like at least with the older movies, like like I said, you would have people like pedophiles in there. It's like okay, pedophiles aren't humans, so they deserve the worst. Like okay, you can say that, but like this innocent woman, like what did she do just because she's related to the guy who's lying? Like it felt so inconsistent with the rules, and that's why I really stopped liking Saw very quickly.
Yeah.
Along with like the plots just going very weird and all that. But
I only ever watched the first Saw movie, to be honest. So.
Well, all right. So to go back to what we were saying with Paranormal fucking Activity, I'm just gonna be honest. I never liked those movies. I never thought they were scary at all. I felt like an alien at the time when they were popular because I'm like, what do people see in this that I don't? Because people go on about it's like, oh man, it's so realistic and tense, and I'm like, nothing happens. It's boring. It's like, well, people say scary is this. Look, hold on, I have a hairbrush in my hand. I'm gonna drop it. and then they get scared, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like,
oh my god!
It's like this is the lamest ghost ever. They're just dropping shit. Like that's not scary. It's like a few doors are slammed shut. Oh man, so creepy. Like I did not like those movies at all. Even the first one, which people tend to say is the best one, even that one, I'm just like, this is just dull and boring. That's not to say I hate found footage in general. I think it can work. I remember I liked Cloverfield. I haven't seen it in a million years.
I
thought that was a good movie. And I'll point out a Spanish horror film that I love even. Wreck. That is a very good found footage horror movie. I actually found that movie legitimately like creepy at times. And even the American remake, I think it's called Quarantine, isn't too bad. But so like I don't completely hate found footage, but when it comes to stuff like Paranormal Activity, I'm just always stunned when I hear people saying it's like it was so terrifying, and I was just there like, when's it over?
Yeah, I hear you. Speaking, I was just thinking of like foreign films, and because you brought it up just now, foreign films in like foreign countries. One that we haven't really touched. We kind of touched upon when we talked about the Ring Girls, but the Grudge Girls. But like horror movies in other countries, especially in Korea, they tend to be in Japan too. They tend to be a lot scarier.
I'd say there's a lot of really good foreign horror movies.
Parasite also.
I mean, Parasite's more of a thriller.
It's more of a thriller, yeah.
And Train to Busan, I don't even know if it's really horror. I feel like it's more of a thriller. It's like a thriller drama, but it's a damn good thriller zombie drama. Like I heavily recommend Train to Busan for people who haven't seen it yet. It's on Netflix. But I mean, in general, there's a lot of really good foreign horror movies. I mean, I named Wreck. I named A Tale of Two Sisters from South Korea. Even like the classic like Grudge and Ringu movies from Japan. Those aren't too bad either. There's a lot of good stuff out there for foreign.
What
countries.
about Pan's Labyrinth?
That's not really a horror movie. There's like a few scenes. No, are you fucking kidding me? Bro, Lawrence, I hate to break it to you, but a movie having maybe like one or two creepy scenes does not make it a horror movie. Like that movie is a
Oh no,
fantasy
I know that. I was just like,
I assume you're referencing that monster with the eyes on its hands.
Yeah. I was
that
just
is
like,
a creepy scene, sure. Like that's a cool looking monster and everything, but that does not make it a horror movie. It is a fantasy
Guillermo
movie.
del Toro.
And it's a great Guillermo del Toro movie. I love that movie, but I would not call it a horror movie. It has like one scene that's very creepy, sure, but that doesn't make it a horror movie.
I'm just trying to think of like some movies that I can throw out there. Also, I didn't bring this up, but the that one movie I brought up, the Art the Clown one. I don't even remember.
It?
No, but we didn't.
Oh, the I know what you're talking about. That clown that like viscerally like murders people.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. I forgot the name. I don't really want to search it up right now.
I mean, it's the clown that looks creepy. I know that doesn't narrow it down.
It's
but
art. If any,
Art
if
the Clown,
any,
yeah.
If any of you guys are interested, like look it up on Google. His name is Art the Clown.
I forgot the movie. Yeah. I think he's in like 2 or 3 movies, but yeah, I mean, his movies are very, very gory. So if you're really into super gory movies, then I guess check those out. I'm not really into that. Like, I don't mind some gore, but gore isn't really like one of my favorite things when it comes to horror.
I wouldn't say he's scary. He's more just like.
Well, I mean, he looks
gruesome.
creepy at the very least, but yeah, it is a very gruesome movie. I saw
gruesome.
some of the deaths in it, and I'm like, oh god, even I have to like look away at this.
Eric, and you and I saw Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I think, as a horror movie, obviously it's like directed more towards like kids and
younger.
teenagers.
It's directed more towards a younger crowd, but
I mean, it was a scary. It was a scary. Like there were scary scenes when we went to go see it, and especially that. What was the name of that big
the Pale Lady?
Yeah, Pale Lady. Yeah.
Yeah. That movie is obviously an adaptation of the book Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And there are some creepy scenes in there. I found the whole Harold the Scarecrow kind of creepy, just with what happens at the end of that little nod to that short story. But yeah, the highlight of that movie for sure is the Pale Lady segment. That the Pale Lady was always one of the scariest horror drawings from that short story collection, and to see it like adapted that well, like it really was like frightening. Like my heart was pumping as like she's getting slowly closer and closer to that guy, just trying to get away from her and everything. And it's just such a disturbing thing to look at. Like it's simple but like creepy.
Yeah, and he just swallows him.
Yeah, and then he just it like absorbs him.
Yeah, absorbs him.
Yeah, that was a cool movie. I it's not like one of the best. Like there's definitely issues with it. I feel like it could have been better, but I had a good time with it as someone who liked and grew up with the original short story collections.
Yeah, I feel like maybe it would maybe one day it would they're planning to do a sequel, obviously, because of the way they ended that movie.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Let me check. I guess I'll check to see if they are actually planning a sequel, because like the ending sort of makes it seem like there could be a sequel, but I mean, I don't know if it's been confirmed if they're doing one.
Imagine the sequel is just taking all the stories from the book and just like there was only one book, right?
No, there's more books.
Oh, okay. So they can probably just adapt those. That one was scary. We also we went all together. We went to go see the new Child's Play movie.
Oh right, yeah.
Which I mean, we talked about it before, but I wasn't scared really of it. I think
I wasn't scared either, but I liked the film for the most part. I thought as far as reboots / remakes go, it actually wasn't that bad. Like so many remakes, especially horror remakes and horror reboots, are really bad. Like the Friday the 13th one. But yeah, that Child's Play one, I actually didn't think it was too bad. And I guess hot take here, I didn't even think the Nightmare on Elm Street remake from 2010 was that bad. Like I honestly expected it to be a lot worse.
It was truly scary. Like it was actually like there was that feeling of like, oh yeah, this is actually kind of serious. It's a more serious take on Freddy.
Well, the thing I kind of liked about that remake, Nightmare on Elm Street remake, is that I kind of liked that they kind of made it a little vague. It's like maybe he was killed unjustly by the parents that thought he was molesting kids. Like maybe he actually wasn't. They don't really solidify it. They keep it in the air a bit, from what I remember. And I kind of dug that idea. But like in terms of the Child's Play remake, it is pretty different from the original, but I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. I especially like Mark Hamill playing Chucky
Yeah, that was
in that
great.
movie. By the way, I
You
looked
did a
it
really
up.
good job with that.
Yeah, that movie was not too bad. I was surprised, and I think So I just looked it up. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. They are making a sequel for it, and I'm gonna see if the 2019 Child's Play movie is getting a sequel. Let me see. So it says right now that they would love to do one, but it hasn't been confirmed for a Child's Play sequel. That said, though, the weird thing about the Child's Play franchise is that the original timeline is still going.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. Just like the original is still going. They're on their 7th or 8th movie. If you want to watch it, it's on Netflix.
Yeah, because there's the first 3 movies, and then there's Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky. But then after like almost 10 years, they made a new one, Curse of Chucky. That goes back to more of its horror routes, because Bride and Seed were like horror comedies more than anything. And then Curse of Chucky got a follow-up, Cult of Chucky, in like 2017. And I think they're planning on doing like a sci-fi TV show now or something like that with that original timeline. So yeah, there's 2 Child's Play timelines right now, basically.
Yeah, because they rebooted it, of course. That's what I was talking
generations.
About
like Star Trek.
It's like I liked what they did with Curse of Chucky. Because when you watch it, it actually is more of a horror movie. Like it feels.
Yeah,
like
it's more like the first 3, where it does try to be more of a horror movie.
And I think Cult of Chucky is also like pretty decently horror, like a horror movie. But then they created the new Chucky, Child's Play, where it was like pretty decent. Like I liked it. And I wasn't scared of the movie. Like maybe a couple jump scares here and there, but I feel like first off, seeing it with you guys, it was like more comforting for me. But I also felt like there wasn't anything to really be scared of in that movie. It was more like, because I feel like it was a movie that a teenager could really sit through and watch.
I mean, I think it was PG. No, was it PG-13? I don't know. So. I guess there was enough blood to warrant an R rating. It probably was R rated now that I think about it, but I honestly can't remember. But I would say, yeah. I mean, a teenager could definitely get through that and not be scathed. Like they won't.
Like a teenager as a kid, maybe like a 13, 14-year-old watching the first Child's Play movie, maybe would actually be kind of affected by it. Depends on how they view like horror movies, of course. But
I don't know, because even as a teenager, I went back to the original and I laughed more than anything. So
really,
yeah. Like as a kid, I found the original movies scary, but like as a teenager and on, I found them funny.
Yeah,
because of like Chucky's quips and all that. But we've been talking a lot, but Ray hasn't really mentioned any horror movies. I wanted to see, like, Ray, do you have any? Or are you just not big on horror?
Yeah, I'm just not really big on horror. It's not that I don't like it, but I mean, I'll watch it like with anyone if like they're down to see it. But I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean,
like
I remember.
Are there any movies that like freaked you out or scared you when you were young or even now?
I guess the original Chucky, when the first time I saw it on TV, I was pretty young. I think I want to say like maybe 6 or 7 years old. That kind of freaked me out, but it wasn't like, oh my god, it's so fucking scary. But like, I guess just the idea of like this doll that's just being alive with that voice it had is what freaked me out to it. And the fact that it just didn't want to fucking die. And so how did he die in the original movie again?
So in the first movie, he gets burned alive, but that doesn't completely stop him. The final nail on the coffin is when he gets shot.
Yeah.
Actually, wait. That might be a lie.
What I just said about the ending?
No. Now we.
Eric, you're wrong.
Chucky had a girlfriend at some point, right? In the series.
Oh, that was Bride of Chucky.
Yeah.
Bride of Chucky. And she kills Chucky, right? Or at least helps kill Chucky.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
in
haven't
that
seen these
movie, she
movies,
ends
so
up
I'm
killing
going off
him
of
at
my
the
memory.
end. Yeah.
I think that's the movie I saw. And
So, okay.
he fell into some shit, if I recall.
Yeah, he fell into
A graves.
graves, I think, gravesite or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how the fourth movie ended, yeah.
That might have been the one I saw.
Okay. I mean, if you remember Chucky's girlfriend and also not his son, then that's Bride. Because Bride introduced Tiffany, which is like his girlfriend / wife, and then Seed of Chucky introduces his son.
Shit face.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I think that's
Or the
literally
shit
what
face or shithead.
shit, something like that. Because Chucky didn't give a shit about that kid, so he
At
just
that
called him.
point, yeah. When that happened, I was like, okay, these movies are not taking themselves seriously.
I mean,
anymore.
yeah, Bride and Seed very much were horror comedies,
Yeah.
and just full on horror. But I mean, I could still see like being somewhat affected by even Bride when you're young, because I mean, yeah, the dolls moving around, killing people, and all that.
Yeah. I mean, the concept is still scary. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Um.
those movies are pretty funny. I actually like Bride a fair amount. I don't remember if I like Seed too much, but I actually like Bride because I found a lot of funny moments in that movie.
Yeah. I think the one movie we haven't talked about, and it is the one film that defines parts of our friendship. Also, is It and It Chapter
Shut
2.
the fuck up.
Pennywise?
Okay,
This motherfucker with his Pennywise like phobia.
Okay, I'm not scared of clowns. I'm not scared of Pennywise.
Sure.
I was
Mr. Eric, I totally saw him on the train.
I saw him on the balcony of our Boston hotel room.
there were moments when we saw Chapter 2 that I was like genuinely like scared of. Especially at the like I don't know if you remember, but like when he went to the infirmary or something like that, or like the pharmacy or something like that.
Is that Pennywise in the background coming to get you on a motorcycle?
Riding a motorcycle.
But yeah, there was that one scene where he shows up behind him or something like that. That one.
There are some jump scares in It Chapter 2. I don't think Ray saw it with us, but you and me saw it.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, I
I
haven't
was
seen
kinda,
Chapter 2 yet.
Yeah, I was kind of let down by Chapter 2. I actually kind of liked the first one a fair
Yeah,
amount, but I didn't like the second one
Same.
as much. But there were a few parts that made me jump from Chapter 2, and I will admit the most horrifying part of Chapter 2 honestly was the beginning, because I mean I always get kind of like disturbed when I see a hate crime like on film, because in the beginning of the movie, in case you didn't know, Ray, I mean there's some people beat up and throw a gay person over a bridge, just for the fact that he's gay and everything. And it was really hard to watch, because I mean they were beating him, and then they eventually threw him over the bridge as his boyfriend watched, and that like messed me up, because I mean that's something that happens even now, like even today, and all that. Like that's there's a lot of like awful human beings out there, so that scene like really creeped me out, because it's like, yeah, there are some awful people that would do something like that. Which is kind of funny, because it's a movie about a fucking clown that can turn into a million things, and what scares me is a hate crime in the beginning. Like nothing with the clown; it was just the crime committed in the beginning. But yeah, I don't know. I wasn't crazy over It Chapter 2. It was all right, I guess. I like the first one a lot more.
I mean, the problem is that I think also the source material, the ending is not great, and Stephen King will. We've talked about this before. Stephen King will admit to you he's horrible at writing endings.
Yeah, he's said over and over again he's not great at writing endings. He's very critical of his work in general. Like Stephen King is a very divisive author. Some people love his works, other people shit on it, and it's always weird to me how like people go so aggressive when they're on the side that doesn't like his work, because it's like, bro, he kind of agrees with you. Like I don't know why you need to go that hard on it.
Yeah.
Like he considers his work like McDonald's when it comes to novels and stuff like that.
In a way, that kind of makes him, I guess, a bit more admirable, if that makes sense, because he doesn't see him. He doesn't look at himself like he's full of himself or anything like that. Like, oh yeah, I'm like the second coming of like Jesus when it comes to like writing fiction and shit.
The most
like,
I can really say,
I appreciate
yeah,
the fact that he knows he can find like flaws in his work.
the most I can really say against him is that he has said and done some stupid things on Twitter and other social media where I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god, you're a grown man, please, like what is this? And
Is it
there are,
rallying levels of bad?
it makes you cringe basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the guy is very much not like left leaning and all that, but some of the things he does, like in regards to like retaliation against Trump and all that, it's kind of cringy. Where it's like, okay, obviously I am on the side that does not like our current president, but you're acting like a child with the way you're like doing something about this.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
I've watched it so many times. I'm just like scrolling through my feed, and then I see tweet from Stephen King replying to Donald J. Trump. I'm like, oh my lord.
Where like, I mean, one tweet that came to mind where he's like referencing like a Beavis and Butthead joke where he's like, Trump needs TP for his bunghole, and I'm like,
Can we
right.
and I'm like, what?
Can we please not?
Really? I'm like, bro, why? That's just no.
You're an adult, sir.
Like, yeah, you're an adult. Can you not? And
Also, not many people are gonna catch on to that.
Who the fuck references Beavis and Butthead at this point? Like, that's so a relic of its time. I don't even think it's awful or anything. Like, it's clearly, like I said, it's a relic of its time. But like, who the fuck is talking about Beavis and Butthead in this day and age? Like,
No,
honestly.
yeah. People who are from the 80s or the 90s who just loved
yeah, I
watching
guess, who just loved it, but and
I still see
besides,
quite a few people wear the t-shirts and stuff like that because like that.
Yeah, because they have the nostalgia T-shirts that like and all that, and yeah.
But going back to what we were saying with like Stephen King, besides like his dumb moments, I mean, admittedly, some of his books are not great. Like he's written a ton of stuff, and the quality can vary greatly within them. But I think there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't read it, but I've heard a lot of people really like the Dark Tower books for the most part.
Yeah.
And in regards to it is a big ass book. It's huge.
Yeah.
Like, if there's one thing that book needs is an editor, because goddamn, like it does not need to be that big.
Yeah,
but, like,
I'm literally looking at my copy, and it's it's 1,000 pages.
Yeah, I'm like, and in a weird way, like I like when he goes into a ton of detail, like when he's describing how someone's dying. It's like it's kind of disturbing, like with how graphic he can make it. But at the same time, I'm like, this book does not need to be 1,000 goddamn pages. So
also, I mean,
maybe
like,
cut it down.
Like, let's just be honest with that. With
Also, I guess I'll say right now, it did not need that child orgy scene.
No,
Don't know. Thank God the movies did not adapt that.
Thank God.
I was going to ask, like, please tell me they omitted that.
Yeah, I mean, well, you saw the first one. They omitted it. They're like, no.
Oh, it was in the first one? Okay.
Well, yeah, because it's a child, or it's when they're children, when they had the orgy scene.
Right. Okay.
And yeah, you saw the first movie where they're children, and thankfully they did not adapt that, because that is weird and not.
That is so unnecessary.
There's only one girl in there too, so she was just getting plowed left and right by all of them. Like, I'm not even trying to be funny.
Feel comfortable about that. No.
Yeah, it's just. But yeah, in chapter 2, I was honestly kind of expecting not to like it as much as the first one, because I've always liked the child portions of the book, like when they're kids, more than when they're adults. So I expected to not like it as much, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. I mean, like, we all know that the child portion of the movie is much stronger.
I mean, it helps that they had a lot of really good child actors in there.
Yeah, and it's like when I'm watching
from Stranger Things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, it's like when I'm like, the book itself is jumbled, right? Because it goes back and forth between kids and like an adult.
Yeah.
But the actual movie, thank God, I organized it. But even if you go back and watch the original TV series, which, I mean, it's not...
Well, it's a miniseries. It's not a
miniseries. It's...
A lot of people think it's a movie because it's typically shown to them as a full movie, but yeah, it was a miniseries.
I mean, I don't really like the ending either. And so, in that one either. So it's like...
Yeah, the ending is not great. in it.
So you can really just kind of say like it is on the source material, you know, like what more do you expect? Do you really expect them to completely undo the put an entirely different ending on it? Maybe, but I feel like if you have like, I just feel like you would need to be really creative. Like you need some like Jordan Peele kind of like shit, you know. He needs to cut
Oh man.
you
Speaking
know,
of horror, Jordan Peele. Get Out, great movie. Us, I saw it kind of recently. Also a very good movie.
Yeah. Oh, he's great. His material is great. People have been like talking, like have been like shouting him out and telling him like, hey, you know what would be a really good idea? I'm pretty sure he's already had the idea too. Is it like if you built a if you made a movie about like being a white person in an all black society or something like that, you know, and it was, you know, it's interesting to think about because like it's like holy shit, wait, like that's actually kind of genius because then you would tell all the white people what it feels like to be black, you know.
It's Trump's nightmare right there.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about. I'm pretty sure he's seen all the tweets, but everybody's been telling him to do that, especially because it's relevant now. They're like, or you could like just do like a horror movie about police officers, and just like it's just reality.
just call it ACAB while you're at it.
And you know, and the thing is, like, a lot of people know Jordan Peele from being on Key and Peele and Comedy Central, so like they don't.
Yeah.
A lot of them kind of misinterpret the fact that he's actually like a really good like director and producer.
No, Jordan Peele has always had a lot of talent. It's just it's cool to see him go into horror movies and I admire the guy for especially being like, yeah, I'm primarily gonna hire black actors because that's who I want to hire. There's plenty of horror movies with white people going ah, so now I'm gonna do stuff for black people going ah instead.
Yeah.
And the black person's always the first one to die in a white person's horror movie. Generally.
And that's funny actually because in Us at least, it wasn't the first death, but one of the first deaths was the white family.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Also just like thinking about like you know, my like he has such good
spoiler alert, by the way. I guess I did spoil something there, but
there's
there's a lot of good stuff in that movie anyway. I'd recommend it.
He's in, you know, obviously he's in Twilight Zone, the recreation. I think he's even directed it, right?
I don't know actually, but I know he is affiliated with.
I was watching that, and also I started watching Black Mirror with my family too. So which has been really really cool because I saw the main character from Get Out, who you know, I've seen him in other stuff before. He was also in Black Panther, but he was in like yeah, he was in one of the episodes of Black Mirror, the technology.
Oh right, that's a really good show.
The one with the America's Got Talent kind of thing. And I remember I was watching that and I was like amazed. It's just like, whoa, that was like the way he ended it was like he got famous for being like pretty much suicidal, you know, like towards the end. And then he's like, till next week, everybody. And then he's like living lavishly, essentially. And I was like, whoa, that is cool. And I was also talking to Ray recently about that one episode you and I were talking about. The episode with the app or something like that recorded the kid. He recorded the kid that recorded the teenager or something like that jerking off.
Are you talking about the Black Mirror episode I told you about?
Yeah, exactly that one.
Oh god, that one, Shut Up and Dance. Yeah, I really like that episode.
It was that was I just got to it recently and I got to watch it and I'm just like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, you watch it and you're rooting for this kid and then you realize, oh, that's what he was jerking off to.
Yeah, I won't say it, but you know, go watch it.
Ray, if you're curious, we can spoil it to you later.
No, he knows. He knows already.
He does? Oh god. Dude, I saw that episode like when I was just watching some random Black Mirror episodes on Netflix, and the entire time I'm like, God, I hope this kid makes it. He's doing so much and all that. And then it hits me, and then it's like, oh.
Yeah. It makes you feel like shit at the end. I know. Like I
I didn't even realize it at first, but there are actually a lot of hints.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like it is foreshadowed fairly well. But yeah.
And I mean I watched the first episode of the Twilight Zone series, the recent one.
The new one, because there's been like 3 others.
Yeah, and so it's about like it's called The Comedian, and it has I forgot the Indian guy's name, but he's a really good actor too.
Kumail something
Yeah.
like that.
He's really good, but in that role, oh my god, he is like that. That was a great episode. I was amazed. It was so good, and I was just like, "This is the mind of Jordan Peele. I love it." But yeah, I going back to like really quickly to it. Because that's where we.
God, you're still not done with it. What else do you want to say?
Well, somehow I managed to get into the Jordan Peele tangent. So
yeah, what a shock! Lawrence getting on tangents. I think half our viewers are dead.
Is that at that point?
After this.
No, I was just gonna finish.
That's a horror movie right there, partaking in this freaking Inkling Brothers drinking game.
Oh my god. It's a horror movie for that person's liver. Anyways, so it's funny because like we all kind of expected like that this chapter 2 wasn't going to be as great because
I like how you're saying everyone has read the book or something.
Well,
Even Ray was like, yeah, bro, I'm pretty sure chapter 2 ain't gonna be as good.
Well, he knows because we've told him that like the adult chapter isn't as nice as the kids chapter.
I don't believe you.
But and maybe when we go to Boston next year, we'll all watch it again.
If we're allowed to, if the fucking pandemic has been handled by then.
If the world decides to fucking get back to normal,
we're living in a horror movie right now.
And I do mean if the world decides, because we could literally be normal right now, but we're not.
I'm trying to think, but yeah, that's my thoughts on it. It was great, but
stop thinking about it because you've been going on for a while.
But anyways, yeah. So I mean, any other closing thoughts for the horror movies topic?
I mean, I guess I'll shout out the one that I'm surprised no one has mentioned, The Last Exorcist, a movie that like scared so many people back when it came out, and it's still a very frightening movie, I'd say. It's still a classic, and I'll shout out a TV moment that scared me. I don't really watch a lot of horror TV, but I remember I was watching classic Twilight Zone episodes, and I'm talking the original run back when it was in black and white. The episode To Serve Man actually creeped me out because I didn't see the twist coming at all. It's like it's a thing where it's like these aliens come to Earth and they're here to serve man, as they say, like they're following like this book, and they're actually helping the human. They're helping the human race by like developing medicines and all that, and like solving world hunger, and then they're offering humans to like visit their home world. It's for like a vacation, but then it comes out like one of the main characters in the episode deciphers that the book To Serve Man, like Ray said earlier, it's a cookbook, and it's meant literally like to serve man. And she tries to stop one of like her friends from getting on the ship as he's about to board, and she's like, "Don't go in. The book, it's a cookbook." And then like that's when it dawns on people. It's like, oh shit, and he tries to get off, but the alien like pushes him back in, and like he and all the other people that were already on the spaceship ends up going away, and it's like, yeah, they're stuck on the ship, and the aliens are trying to fatten him up to serve him, but he's trying to like fight back by not eating, but he's famished, and by the end of the episode he can't help himself, he starts eating because he's so hungry. And that episode fucked me up a bit because I'm like, holy shit, I didn't see that twist coming at all.
That is horrifying. It reminds me of a Shakespeare poem where like Shakespeare. No, it actually has to do kind of like with the same exact scenario, where like all I remember is that the guy was serving a woman like who had kids dinner, like pie, and he's serving. He really loves her and all that, and so he's serving her this pie at dinner, and he's like, "Oh, how are your kids?"
Oh, I get it.
And
Like,
she
he means it literally. Like, how are your kids? They're in the
and-
pie you're eating.
yeah, and she's like, "Oh, they're good, they're okay." And then he's like, "No, seriously, how are your kids?" And yeah, exactly. It like turns out the kids are in the pie. I don't remember where it comes from. I remember a teacher from high school was telling me about it, and I just always remember that because
What's the ending to it? Like, how did the woman react?
oh, she screamed. Obviously, she screamed and all that, and I think that was the end of the play. It was a short play, so Shakespeare
okay.
doesn't make a lot of short plays, but that was one of the. It was one of the.
All right, I guess that's a good comparison. I was expecting a comparison where that's just so out there, and I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah, but
It's like, man, you know what this reminds me of? This fucking Recess episode.
Recess.
That Disney cartoon Recess. I was expecting something like that. It's like, okay, Lawrence, whatever you say.
You know what this reminds me of, guys? This American Dragon Jake Long episode.
Oh my god. Okay, I'm good.
All right, I think we should stop here, honestly.
Yeah, I was just.
We got through 2 topics.
There was other stuff we wanted to talk about, but we've gone on long enough. How long was that, Lawrence?
That's over 3 hours.
3.5 hours.
Yeah.
3.5. Yeah, we need to stop.
Yeah.
Man,
all right, so someone should do a game and see like how long it is if we cut out Lawrence's tangents. It turns into a half-hour podcast at that point.
30 minutes.
We're supposed to talk about stuff like Mario and Avatar.
So, folks, we had these other topics planned, like childhood crushes, Avatar, like the state of the Netflix rendition of Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Super Mario 35th anniversary, and like 2 other topics. We didn't get to any of it. We got through 2 topics today.
Hey,
Jeez.
it
just to be clear, we are aware of those. We're going to talk about them eventually.
So,
I guess I'll stop here, but to go back to what we were talking about at the very beginning, Markiplier was trending on Twitter today because so many people were acting thirsty and simping over him, over his latest video, because he's got nice man tits basically, and he's a very handsome man, so a lot of people were like simping over him on Twitter today, and I found that pretty funny because it's like, man, I hate to break it to a lot of y'all, but he's always been a very good-looking person. Like, you're a little late on this. Oh, and Chris Evans accidentally leaked his dick. That was interesting.
Nice.
He leaked one of his dick pics by accident. So
there was a Captain America meme. It was like, that is America's cock.
Yep. There's another one where it's like, so you accidentally leaked your dick, like from the Spider-Man moment.
There's one more I want to mention before we close in. There's how he encounters his past self in Endgame?
Yeah.
The caption for that was like basically Chris Evans finding out who leaked his dick pics.
It was him.
Oh my god.
I could do this all day.
Oh my god, I'm looking at it.
Wow, look at
this. You're looking at the picture?
No, I'm looking at Markiplier.
Oh, I thought you were looking at Chris Evans' dick. I was like, wow, so you actively went out searching for
context, dude.
But now I'm looking at Chris Evans.
What a way to end.
No, but it's funny because you want to know what Mark Ruffalo tweeted back at him and said, Chris Evans, bro, while Trump is in office, there is nothing you could possibly do to embarrass yourself. See? Silver line.
That is true.
It's so true.
The problem is that his base is a cult, so they don't care how often he makes himself look bad. But that's getting into political stuff. But I mean, if you're a Trump lover and you're listening to us, what the fuck are you doing anyway? Because obviously we don't like him, and we don't like people who support him. So stop listening.
Yeah, seriously, get out.
Also, on the Chris Evans thing, hey man, as long as he wasn't doing anything sus with that shit, whatever.
I mean, it was an accident. It was literally an accident.
It was an accident, but like
Yeah.
I assume he was sending it to his girlfriend or whoever the hell he's dating. If he is dating someone. Or maybe he's sending one to one of his fans, like Lawrence. Like, hey, Lawrence, check it out, man. What do you think?
All right, how about no?
Oh my god.
Lawrence is like 8 out of 10. Good dick.
Yeah. On that note, everybody, we thank you all for listening.
Oh my god.
We're at 3 hours and 20-something minutes. But anyways, everybody, my
I
name
would've
is...
thought that'd be the last thing we talk about tonight.
I
About
love
Chris
it.
Evans' dick, I
You
knew
know-
because I wanted to mention it at some point.
I love
Oh my
You
god.
know what? I love it. It's great because this show gets chaotic anyways, and I love it. Anyways, next episode, hopefully in a
We'll
couple
hopefully
weeks.
get through the other topics. Some of them
Yeah.
feel like they shouldn't take that long. But
Yeah, I mean, Super Mario 35, we could do that.
I mean, I was thinking of the Avatar.
Same with
movies.
Avatar.
I mean,
Avatar.
we're just
Yeah.
gonna mention the state of the Netflix show, basically.
Yeah. Hopefully there's
Yeah.
news. Anyways, we'll see you guys hopefully in 2 weeks. Pray for me that Premiere Pro doesn't kill anyone.
I mean, is Craig still here?
Craig is still here.
Okay.
On that note, everybody, my name is Royal Dude Lorenzo. I'm the Blue Squid here on the Inkling Brothers podcast. Tune in next time for another episode of Shenanigans and Chaos.
My name is Ray, also known as Meatloaf Man. I am the Purple Squid here on the Inkling Bros podcast. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you guys next episode.
And I'm Eric, and I desperately need to pee, so end the podcast already.
Bye, everyone. Good night.
Bye,
Or
everyone. Wash your
whatever.
hands. Wear a mask. Peace.
Don't be an idiot. Bye.